Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. The end of the world. Mythical recovers, and the start is fierce and strange. Chapter 21. Li Hu was startled, then looked forward. I saw a giant black rat with a huge body and hair like steel needles coming towards me and others. Behind it, followed a large black tidal sea. Li Hu took a closer look. What the hell? So many rats. What are you still doing? Run away. Several people were stunned by this scene. I have never seen so many mice in my life. Each one is bigger than a house cat. Several people made a quick decision and ran in the opposite direction with all their might. At this moment, I can't wait to use both hands. Squeak. A series of harsh rat calls resounded. A few people were sweating profusely, but they were fast. How can it compete with so many corpse rats? Soon, a scream sounded. Ah! A younger brother behind Li Hu was directly submerged in this dense group of corpse rats. In just one breath, all the skin, flesh and bones disappeared. Li Hu looked back and looked extremely pale. He couldn't run anymore and roared madly. What the hell is this? Where did all these rats come from? He waved the weapon in his hand and swept away large areas of corpse rats with one strike. The remaining brothers were also surrounded by a group of corpse rats. Sudden, a huge black rat emerged from the group of rats. Wang Shuang, the corpse rat, was blinded and was extremely angry when he felt the breath of a living person. He even showed his sharp teeth and let out a long groan, waving his sharp claws and rushing towards several people. The pupils of the two younger brothers beside Li Hu who had no time to dodge dilated. Ah! There were several more screams. Every life was torn apart by this corpse rat king. Blood spurts out and the scene is breathtaking. The remaining people had never seen such a scene before, and they all fell to the ground with a pop in their legs. He said in horror, "Do not kill me. Brother Tiger, help." Li Hu couldn't even protect himself, so he immediately turned around and tried to escape. When he saw the surrounding roads blocked by water and the dense and dark swarm of dead rats, Li Hu was stunned. Don't come here, I'm very brave." Li Hu held the long stick with a knife tied to it. My legs couldn't stop shaking. His face was fierce, and he turned back to look at the corpse rat king with great anger. I will fight with you." With an angry roar, he slashed directly at the corpse rat king in front of him. "Die to me." Dang! A crisp sound came. When the knife came into contact with the corpse rat king, it dented directly. And the long stick was broken in an instant. The hair of this corpse rat king is actually harder than steel. At this moment, Li Hu was stunned. "Zibei." He looked at the corpse rat king in front of him with some sarcasm and whispered. Do you think this strength, is it suitable?" Squeak. Even though he lost his eyes, the corpse rat king could still feel Li Hu's provocative actions in front of him. It waved its extremely sharp claws and swatted towards him. "It's over." Li Hu quickly closed his eyes. This was his only thought. And just then, a deafening roar sounded in the distance. Roar. When they heard this sound, the rats behind them immediately began to become restless, suddenly turning up large swaths of black spots. The corpse rat king also paused. Even Li Hu ignored him with his fearful posture. Quickly prepared to escape. In an instant, an extremely sharp sword shot out from behind. Stab it into the back of the corpse rat king's head. PFF'd. Squeak. The corpse rat king groaned in extreme pain and fell straight forward. Boom. Dead. Upon seeing this, a younger brother couldn't help but tremble and said in disbelief. And Li Hu opened his eyes and looked at the corpse rat king who suddenly fell to the ground in front of him. His face was full of shock. When the giant corpse rat king died, the surrounding corpse rats densely retreated like a tide in an instant. One by one they fell into the gaps everywhere. Not far away, Chen Mo and Qiongqi arrived at this place. Chen Mo got off Qiongqi and came to the huge corpse rat king. Under the shocked gazes of Li Hu and others, holding the sword, he opened the head of the corpse rat king along the back of his head with a pop. From it, a crystal core was taken out. Looking at the crystal core in his hand, Chen Mo's eyes lit up. It is indeed the rank 2 crystal core. Chen Mo put it away and then looked at the crowd. He said calmly, "Who are you?" Several boys rubbed their eyes. It seemed that he couldn't believe that the terrifying corpse rat king was actually killed by this person in front of him. Li Hu was stunned for a while before he came to his senses. He said quickly, Me, we are all survivors here. Want to come out and find some food? Did you kill this monster? Chen Mo nodded. He looked them over. Suddenly, I seemed to notice something. He looked at the watch on Li Hu's hand. That watch. Chen Mo narrowed his eyes slightly and asked with a hint of coldness. Survivor. Li Hu showed a simple and honest look, smiled and touched his head and said. Yes, we are the survivors around here. Are you alone? You are so strong, do you want to join us? At this time, the boy on the side came over and whispered. Brother Hu, are you ready to? He showed an unkind expression. Li Hu glared at him and scolded. You don't want your life. How dare you provoke such a person? Although they often snatch food from survivors. But he is not a fool. The terrifying giant rat just now was killed by this person. Li Hu didn't think he would be Chen Mo's opponent. What's more, Li Hu looked at the beast beside Chen Mo. At this moment, he was constantly gnawing at the corpse rat king, tearing off large pieces of flesh and blood in one bite. The picture is simply not too beautiful. Li Hu couldn't help but trembled with horror. Although Qiongqi is a rank 1 species, corpse rats are still rats after all. No matter how it evolves, the increase in its abilities is limited. Chen Mo's eyes flickered, and he suddenly said a name coldly. Lu Jiangguo. Li Hu was stunned. Ah. Lu Jiangguo, do you know him? The younger brother on the side murmured after hearing this. Lu Jiangguo. Brother Hu, wasn't he the one you beat up before? Li Hu's pupils dilated when he heard this, and he glared at him with a grim expression. When he turned around and was about to say something, Chen Mo didn't know when he had appeared in front of him. One hand firmly grasped his neck. A living, 1.8-meter tall man was actually lifted up. Let me ask you, do you know Lu Jiangguo? Li Hu's breath was suffocated, and he kept struggling with an extremely painful expression. He insisted firmly. I don't know. Ahem. Chen Mo looked at the watch on his right hand. That's right, this is exactly Uncle Jiangguo's watch. Chen Mo glanced at the younger brothers around him who looked panicked and frightened. Obviously knows something. Turning to stare at Li Hu, Chen Mo said with cold eyes. I'll give you another chance. Think about it before we talk. Lu Jiangguo, do you know him? It seems that the next sentence has no answer, it will be his head falling to the ground. Li Hu looked at Chen Mo's lustful eyes and couldn't help but tremble all over. After struggling for a long time, it was even difficult to breathe, so he said with great difficulty. Recognize. No. Bang. Chen Mo put him down. The 2 younger brothers around him were stunned, each of them looking terrified. Brother Tiger, are you okay? Li Hu gasped for air. He knelt on the ground, his face extremely red. He looked up at Chen Mo and said quickly. He is in the base of a group of our survivors. Chen Mo stared at him and said with an extremely cold expression. Now, take me there. Li Hu turned pale with fright and nodded quickly. Well, at this moment, in the old city, inside the abandoned factory. Wu Qigong looked at Lu Jiangguo who was tied up on the ground in front of him. He murmured with an extremely indifferent expression. Who asked him to get out? The younger brothers next to him looked at each other and said hesitantly. That brother who told him to go out and find food on his own. Wu Qigong's face was expressionless, with a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. He was caught by zombies and won't survive. Take all this food away. Beside Lu Jiangguo, there was a bottle of water and several packs of compressed biscuits. The younger brothers glanced at the little girl next to Lu Jiangguo who fainted from hunger. Said, well, Angkor, he was caught by zombies because he went out to find food for his daughter. This little girl is dying, how about we? Am I deaf when I say take all this food away? Wu Qigong said loudly. He looked at several people with captivating eyes. Did I give them food? Did you guys eat meat a few days ago? Is it right? Wu Qigong looked at the sallow-looking people around him with a smile. As soon as this statement came out, someone immediately couldn't help but vomited. No one dared to speak and confront each other. Wu Qigong sneered. He himself refuses to feed his daughter, so he can't blame us. In 1 week, people from the military area will be sent to pick me up. Do you all want to stay in this place? Ho. At this moment, Lu Jiangguo's eyes were red as he was tied up by Wu Wadao. His expression was particularly painful and ferocious. Give give my daughter something to eat. Wu Qigong. Lu Zhengguo suddenly raised his head and became angry. Veins popped out on his face, and his eyes were extremely captivating. They are just like the zombies outside. Wu Qigong was startled by this sudden scene. Feeling humiliated, he picked up the stick in the hand of a younger brother on the side. It hit Lu Zhengguo hard. Boom. I'll let you roar. Let you roar. Being a zombie is a big deal, isn't it? Want food? I want you to watch your daughter die in front of you. Bang, bang. Wu Qigong vented for a long time, and the scene was terrible to watch. Everyone around them bit their lips and didn't dare to look. Even the younger brothers found it difficult to accept it. This is only half a month after the end of the world, and many people present still have humanity. Mr. Wu, forget it. At this time, someone said while suppressing fear. Oh, Wu Qigong turned around slowly. The speaker is a college student, wearing glasses and polite. Want to be a hero? Okay, throw him out and let him face those zombies alone. Wu Qigong said angrily. Seeing this, several boys around him stepped forward and dragged the college student out. No, no, I was wrong, Mr. Wu. I was wrong. Ah, outside this abandoned factory, there were literally hundreds of zombies wandering around. Because his superpower was about to awaken, Li Hu, who was in good physical condition, and some of his younger brothers dared to go out to search for supplies. Hearing the screams, the people around him lowered their heads one by one, not daring to look. Wu Qigong sneered. A bunch of cowards, if they are so capable, don't stay here. I, Wu Qigong, have never stopped you. But if you choose to stay here, it will be up to me, Wu Qigong, to decide. People here are, on the one hand, timid. The most important thing is that Wu Qigong was able to contact people in the military region. They also wanted to go to the safest place together, so they didn't dare to resist. Wu Qigong is like the local emperor here. Seeing that no one spoke, he returned to his previous smiling face. He turned around and looked at the bloody Lu Zhengguo on the ground. At this time, Lu Zhengguo's daughter suddenly woke up for some reason. The little girl was only 6 or 7 years old. She was wearing a dirty skirt. She was skinny and her cheeks were sunken. Not eating for a long time made her lips and face look pale. Dad, Dad, Lu Ziqi kept calling. She sat up from the ground, her head feeling dizzy, when she saw Lu Zhengguo beside her. He rushed over quickly. Dad, Lu Ziqi kept stroking Lu Zhengguo's face with her little hands. Big tears fell down, and his voice was fragile and weak. Dad, what's wrong with you? After seeing his daughter, Lu Zhengguo's groggy consciousness gradually became clearer. His voice was hoarse, and he kept vomiting blood and minced meat from his mouth. Chi, it's no use, Dad. You must be hungry. Daddy will get you something to eat. Lu Ziqi kept sobbing and shook her head and shouted. Dad, are you okay? I'm not hungry. Not hungry. Don't hurt my dad. At this scene, even the younger brothers beside Wu Qigong felt filled with panic. But Wu Qigong was indifferent and showed a kind face. Smiling, he knelt down, touched Lu Ziqi's head and said gently. Don't be afraid, little girl, no one will hurt your father. Uncle is a good man. No, you are a bad person. It's my father you bullied. Lu Ziqi threw his hand away. Glaring at him, Wu Qigong's face suddenly darkened. Pa, it's a slap. Shameless. Wu Qigong spat. Beast, I'm going to kill you. Lu Zhengguo, who was tied up, struggled continuously when he saw this. It looked so hideous that even the hemp rope was pulled out. Wu Qigong, you must die a happy death. Wu Qigong's face was extremely cold and he sneered. Why haven't you turned into a zombie yet? Tisk, kill him. Keeping him will be a disaster. What, you can't move and you want me to do it myself? Wu Qigong looked at the younger brothers beside him. The boys looked at each other and took out a knife from their arms. He stepped forward trembling all over. Lu, brother Lu, don't blame me. There is nothing we can do about it, we also want to survive. You have been captured by zombies and will not survive. Your daughter. Lu Zhengguo felt resentful. I hate myself for not listening to Xiao Mo's words. I hate myself even more for why I brought my daughter to this place. Feeling soft for a moment, he took out the food. And instead of being grateful, these beasts robbed all their food. Ziqi, it's no use, Dad. I'm sorry for you. Lu Jiangguo couldn't help crying. Brother Lu, don't worry, I will give you a happy ending. One of the boys was holding a knife. He gritted his teeth and had a hard expression on his face. Stab it hard. And just then, ding, a steel ball hit his hand just right. A bloody hole was directly penetrated, and the blood flowed endlessly. Ah, a scream sounded. Hand, my hand. Everyone present was shocked. Wu Qigong was angry. What the hell happened again? Roar, a dull roar came. Immediately afterwards, a huge vibration came. Rumble. The door outside the factory was actually broken open, and Qiongqi was coming with a trembling Li Hu in his mouth. Chen Mo rode on his back. Seeing the person coming, everyone present was stunned. That is, Li Hu. Is that a mutated zombie? Who is this other person? Chen Mo immediately noticed the extremely miserable Lu Jiangguo in the distance. My heart twitched. Uncle Jiangguo. Boom. The factory shook violently. This place was originally made of thin metal, and the surroundings were distorted in an instant. Chen Mo immediately came to Lu Jiangguo's side, and his eyes were splitting when he saw it. Uncle Jiangguo. Who are you? Wu Qigong's pupils were startled. He immediately looked at Li Hu and shouted angrily. Li Hu, come here. Li Hu didn't dare to make any move, and was held in Qiongqi's mouth all the way. He had seen Chen Mo's methods with his own eyes. This guy can actually control metal. This is simply appalling. Chen Mo untied the hemp rope from Lu Jiangguo's body. Looking at the bloody Uncle Jiangguo in his arms and the deep claw marks on his arms. How could I not know that Uncle Jiangguo was infected? Chen Mo felt extremely tight in his chest and kept calling. Uncle Jiangguo. Ahem. Lu Jiangguo spat out several more mouthfuls of blood. He opened his eyes extremely weakly, and saw the person in front of him clearly through his blurred vision. He muttered in disbelief. Xiao Mo, is that you? Chen Mo, it's me. Uncle Jiangguo, what's wrong with you? How did you become like this? Lu Jiangguo was trembling all over, and his blood-stained hand held Chen Mo's hand tightly. It is my fault. I should have listened to you Xiao Mo from the beginning. Lu Jiangguo originally wanted to listen to Chen Mo's opinion, but his mother-in-law was unwilling. Talking about feudal superstition, this matter will be ignored. But Lu Jiangguo still stored a lot of goods. After the end of the world began, his wife unfortunately turned into a zombie, so Lu Jiangguo took a small amount of supplies and hid with his daughter. Finally, I met Li Hu, Wu Qigong and others. What the hell are you doing standing still? Get this guy, Wu Qigong yelled. Several young men around him bravely rushed forward with weapons in hand. Roar. Qiongqi moved, slapped him, and directly tore the body of one of them into pieces. Blood spurts out, and this scene can be said to have frightened everyone out of their wits. Half of one of them's arms suddenly hit Wu Qigong's face. Wu Qigong's breath was suffocated, and his legs began to tremble uncontrollably. Xiao Mo, cough cough, I'm dying. My daughter, please. Uncle Guo, I have never asked anyone in my life. Xiao Mo, to take my daughter away. They robbed my food. They are all a bunch of beasts. Ah, at this point, Lu Jiangguo roared in extreme pain, rolling his eyes and gasping for air. Kill me. I don't want to become like that. Lu Jiangguo held Chen Mo's hand tightly and said loudly. Chen Mo was trembling all over and lowered his head without speaking for a long time. Roar. Lu Jiangguo in his arms began to twitch continuously, and suddenly opened his mouth wide and wanted to bite Chen Mo. PFF'd. A steel ball penetrated directly between his eyebrows. Lu Jiangguo's eyes widened and his hands dropped heavily. Chen Mo lowered his head and said softly. Uncle Jiangguo, I can't promise you. But don't worry, I will place your daughter in a safe place. Chen Mo stood up slowly and put Lu Jiangguo's body away. The scene suddenly became extremely cold. A terrible killing intent permeated the air. Qiongqi seemed to have noticed something and kept growling at the people around him. The more than 20 people present shivered and retreated one after another. Who did it? Chen Mo whispered. I said who did it? His voice suddenly became louder. Chen Mo stared angrily at everyone present. No one dared to speak. Chen Mo looked at Wu Qigong opposite. Wu Qigong had never seen such a terrifying look. He was so frightened that he quickly picked up an iron rod and said tremblingly. Do not come. Not me. Kaka. The iron rod in his hand became bent in an instant. Uncontrollable reflection strangled his fat neck. Ho, ho, Wu Qigong drooled, his body trembling with fat, and he rolled his eyes. Chen Mo stepped forward slowly, and the sword appeared in his hand. Under the horrified eyes of everyone, he thrust it into Wu Qigong's shoulder. Ah! Wu Qigong was in extreme pain, with countless beads of sweat appearing on his forehead. The metal and iron objects around him floated uncontrollably. Let go! Let Angkor go! A young man tremblingly held a knife and pointed it at Chen Mo. Chen Mo waved his left hand. PFF'd. An iron rod floating in the air directly knocked the boy's head away. Blood blooms like a fountain. Everyone present suffered cardiorespiratory arrest. Weird. Monster. Monster. The surrounding survivors all widened their pupils. This shocking scene made them get up and want to run away. Qiongqi, no one here can leave. Whoever wants to escape, eat him, Chen Mo said in a cold and piercing voice. Qiongqi understood and immediately rushed towards the crowd. The screams and screams never stopped for a moment. After being eaten alive by Qiongqi and tearing apart 4 or 5 people, this group of people finally collapsed on the spot and did not dare to move. Li Hu in the distance felt even more out of breath. PFF'd. Chen Mo pulled out the knife inserted into Wu Qigong's body. Shake off the blood stains on it. He looked at the people present and said calmly. I'll ask again, Uncle Zhangguo, why did it become like this? You know, now, it's the end of the world. Even if I kill you all, no one will care. Under this huge pressure, they felt that the Chen Mo in front of them was 10,000 times more terrifying than the zombies outside. Finally, someone couldn't help but speak. I said everything. These were not done by us, but by him. Wu Qigong and Li Hu. Li Hu's eyes darkened and he fainted. After all, the survivors present gave their full confessions. Chen Mo's face became colder and colder. Turning around to look at Wu Qigong, he said in a cold voice. You took all of Uncle Zhangguo's food. Wu Qigong was so frightened that he became incontinent, and fear flooded his mind. No, it's not me. The silver knife was smooth and smooth. Chen Mo directly cut off his right hand. Ah! Wu Qigong endured the severe pain and kept begging for mercy. Spare your life, spare your life. I know people from the military region. If you kill me, the military region will not let you go. Chen Mo smiled. This smile was particularly cold. Military region. Lin Shu, do you know? Wu Qigong felt cold. Chen Mo slowly came to him and said softly. He died. Wu Qigong's breath was suffocated. Hi. Another arm was removed. Wu Qigong was so painful that he almost fainted and began to twitch and foam at the mouth. Chen Mo, Uncle Zhangguo is a good man. But it was this kindness that also harmed him. You did the right thing. If you have strength in the last days, you can do whatever you want. It's just that now it's my turn to be the master. Chen Mo stared at him and used his sword to cut open his stomach bit by bit. The scene was extremely cruel. Some people even couldn't bear it and fainted from fear. You have to die. Wu Qigong watched with his own eyes as his intestines flowed out bit by bit. His face was horrified, and he roared with his mouth open. Chen Mo's eyes were extremely cold and murderous. But you won't be able to see it today. Ho! Wu Qigong's eyes widened. That sword pierced his heart bit by bit. It was only a few seconds, but it seemed like a century had passed. In the end, his head drooped heavily, and his life was gone. Wu Qigong is dead. Chen Mo looked at Lu Zhangguo's body and stood there in silence for a long time. In this life, he has the ability to protect himself and even more ability to change Lu Zhangguo's outcome. However, not everyone will be able to survive in the apocalypse. After all, he has his own weaknesses. And what I can do for Uncle Zhangguo? He just sent those who persecuted him to hell one by one. The scene was silent. All the survivors present held their breath. Chen Mo said calmly, "Where is Uncle Zhangguo's daughter?" The crowd pointed in one direction. Chen Mo came to Lu Ziqi's side. Looking at Lu Ziqi, who was extremely thin, with weak breathing and unconscious. Pick it up. Lu Ziqi is also wearing a beautiful princess dress. She is the treasure of Uncle Zhangguo and his most beloved daughter. Chen Mo still remembered eating duck leg rice there that night. When talking about her daughter Lu Zhangguo's tireless and extremely gentle expression. Chen Mo took a deep look at the indifferent survivors present. They didn't interfere because they wanted to survive. Chen Mo didn't say anything more, but turned around and came to Qiongqi's side. He put Lu Ziqi on Qiongqi's back and warned him. Keep an eye on her. Let's go. One person and one beast just left towards the gate. When passing by the unconscious Li Hu, PFF'd, the sword struck. Right in the heart. Ah! Li Hu opened his eyes suddenly, his eyes full of confusion and disbelief. The watch on his right hand slowly floated up. It fell into Chen Mo's hands. Only these dozens of survivors were left, unable to calm down for a long time. I don't want to die. Some people couldn't help sobbing. Wu Qigong is dead, who will come back and take us away? That guy is a devil, a devil. Sudden, outside the gate, there were low roars. Zombies appeared outside the gate one after another, smelling the smell. His eyes were extremely fierce, and saliva was constantly dripping from his mouth as he rushed towards the factory. Zombies, zombies, run away, comma. Within the old town, Chen Mo and Qiongqi headed towards home. The murderous intent on Chen Mo's body at this moment made even Qiongqi feel a little scared. Wherever the two of them passed, the metal around them trembled and groaned. Whenever zombies come, before he even got close, his head was chopped off by a blade. Wherever he passed, blood flowed like a river. All the way to home. Squeak! Chen Mo opened the iron door. His eyes went dark, and his whole body fell down weakly. Ho! Qiongqi stood in front of him. Chen Mo sat on the ground, breathing heavily. Ability, is it overdrawn again? He couldn't remember how many zombies he had killed today. His whole body was covered in blood, both from zombies and humans. Chen Mo picked up the little girl on Qiongqi's back. Put it on the bed. I gave her some water and porridge, and then took a shower. Only this cold water could calm Chen Mo's angry and impetuous heart. In just half a month, Uncle Zhangguo would become like this. So what will happen to Yuer in North China District? He couldn't imagine it. I must go to North China District as soon as possible. Chen Mo murmured with a trace of ferocity in his eyes. But, before that, Chen Mo looked at the little girl lying on the bed, his eyes flickering. Comma. Chen Mo took out today's harvest. There is one rank 2 crystal core in total. 32 inferior crystal cores. These inferior crystal cores are not even rank 1. Not surprisingly, they were all absorbed by his second power. And when Chen Mo began to absorb the crystal core of the rank 2 corpse rat king, my heart skipped a beat. Boom, boom. The second power awakening dark pattern on his left hand actually shone with a dazzling purple light. At this time, Chen Mo was shocked and immediately looked at Qiongqi aside. Watch this place and don't let anyone get close. Then, his head became dizzy and he fell into a dark sleep. Comma. I do not know how long it has been. Ooh, Dad. A sob came from my ears. Who is crying? Dad, don't you want Chi-Chi? Chen Mo slowly opened his hazy eyes. Hungry, very hungry. Next to his ears, the whisper of when he awakened his first power suddenly sounded. Heaven, Quan. Like a self-taught master, Chen Mo immediately understood the effect and function of his second power. His pupils shrank, and his eyes revealed incomparable shock. How can this be? After being surprised for a while, Chen Mo immediately noticed the little girl beside him. At this moment, Qiongqi was rubbing against the little girl, as if comforting her. Surrounded by some empty bags of food, Chen Mo didn't know how long it took for him to awaken this time. He came to Lu Ziqi's side and said softly, "Don't cry. Uncle." Lu Ziqi was stunned, and then looked at Chen Mo with a pitiful face. "You're awake, Uncle Chen, where is my father?" She had met Chen Mo before, so she knew him. Chen Mo hugged her and kept patting her on the shoulder to comfort her. "Chi-Chi, your father has gone to a place far away. He will leave you to me and let your uncle take care of you temporarily, okay?" "No, I want Daddy." Lu Ziqi burst into tears. Chen Mo comforted him for a long time. She gradually calmed down and fell asleep holding Qiongqi in her arms. Chen Mo breathed a sigh of relief. "I was so hungry that I opened a lot of puffed food and swallowed it in big mouthfuls." After feeling full, Chen Mo looked at his left hand. The second ability is the power of heaven. Even I have never heard of this superpower. Chen Mo looked at Qiongqi beside him and put his hand over. Buzz. A flash of purple light flickered. Qiongqi suddenly became uneasy and restless. "Accept it," Chen Mo said. Qiongqi's huge pupils flickered for a while. Then, an anomaly mark similar to the dark pattern of awakening suddenly appeared on his forehead. A subtle feeling came. One person and one beast seemed to have established some mysterious connection at this moment. Chen Mo tried to communicate. Qiongqi, master, master. This time, Qiongqi didn't even need to make a sound. Chen Mo could feel the thoughts coming from Qiongqi. Chen Mo's eyes lit up. The role of Tianquan's supernatural power doesn't stop there. He tried to activate the Tianquan power. In his left hand, a purple light suddenly bloomed. The huge Qiongqi in front of him disappeared little by little. Finally, it simply disappeared. Chen Mo looked to his left hand in disbelief. Roll up your sleeves. On his left forearm, a hideous tattoo that looked similar to Qiongqi suddenly appeared. Tianquan was actually able to take Qiongqi into his body. At this moment, Chen Mo even felt that his 5 senses and body had become clearer and stronger. Being able to share Qiongqi's abilities. Chen Mo's eyes were extremely shocked. After a long time, he murmured in amazement. Tianquan, this power. Even more terrifying than the Lord. This is at least a divine power at the apex level. If more alien species are conquered. Even God. Chen Mo's eyes flashed with excitement. The first thing he thought of was the god of Qiongqi. Maybe, you can try it yourself. Chen Mo once again released Qiongqi from Tianquan. Tattoos on arms disappear. Qiongqi shook his head in confusion and looked around. Chen Mo was trembling with excitement and kept muttering in his mouth. Tianquan, Tianquan, this is an unheard of ability. So powerful and terrifying. Because of the uniqueness of this power, Chen Mo spent half a day getting familiar with this power. It wasn't until evening that he looked at Qiongqi and murmured. Qiongqi, how long have I slept? Qiongqi tilted his head in confusion. Obviously, this question is out of scope. At this time, Qiqi on the side let out a scream. Wake up. She sat up from the bed in a daze, not knowing what she was thinking. When Chen Mo saw this, he took a pack of gummies and went up. He forced out a smile that he thought was very kind and said. Qiqi, are you awake? Are you hungry? Uncle treats you to some sweets. Qiqi glanced at Chen Mo, and then seemed to think of something again. A layer of mist appeared in his big eyes, and he almost cried again. Fortunately, Chen Mo directly stuffed a gummy candy into it at the last moment. Only then did she start chewing. After all, he is a 7-year-old child, and his moods come and go quickly. Qiqi blinked and felt better while eating the candy. He looked at Chen Mo and said, Uncle Chen, when will my father come back? Chen Mo was silent for a while and then said with a smile. Soon, you will come back when you grow up. Qiqi lowered her head, wondering what she was thinking. As a person in 2 lifetimes, it was Chen Mo's first time raising a child and he had little experience. In order to divert her attention, Chen Mo said quickly. Qiqi, is this candy delicious? Yeah, Qiqi nodded absently. Uncle, you eat too. Chen Mo smiled and nodded, and also took one. It's really good. But am I that old? Call me brother. Chen Mo pinched her thin face. Are you hungry? Eat more. Qiqi shook her head and said charmingly. I'm not hungry. I ate a lot. As she spoke, she patted her belly. Chen Mo was startled, then said softly. Qiqi, how long have I been asleep? After thinking for a while, Qiqi clasped her fingers. Then he said, 3 days. No. 4 days, 5 days. At the end of the sentence, even she was a little confused. Has it been so long? Chen Mo's eyes flickered and he thought to himself. In my heart, I couldn't help but feel more anxious. Looking at the innocent Qiqi in front of him, Chen Mo had no intention of taking her to North China City with him. Huabei City is more dangerous than Tianai City. The god who lives there is not comparable to the Qiongqi god. I don't know why, but there are special gods or alien overlords in each region. The more powerful the ruler is, the more dangerous that area becomes. Now the second power, Tianquan, is awakened when the dominating power reaches rank 2. Even in Huabei City, I have a certain ability to protect myself, and Qiongqi is enough to go there. You must be found before the Nian beast arrives. Time is tight and it is impossible to take care of a child all the way. Chen Mo couldn't help but feel a little entangled. How about, send Qiqi to the military area? There, after all, is the safest place, and a safe zone will be established in the future. But Chen Mo soon rejected this idea. The people in the military area now are all high-ranking officials, not to mention that I have no connections. What's more, he had already become the most wanted person after killing Lin Shu. Moreover, he was not at ease leaving Qiongqi there without anyone to rely on. Look at Qiongqi who is eating candy. Chen Mo paused. Suddenly something seemed to come to mind. His eyes lit up. Correct, there is another person, Luo Tianshang. Even before rebirth, there was no reminder from myself. Luo Tianshang also survived the apocalypse and relied on his own equipment to become the leader of the largest survivor team in Tianquan City. Chen Mo has been in his team for a long time. It is clear that Luo Tianshang's forces are not weak at all and are extremely powerful. In this life, I don't know if Luo Tianshang listened to his opinion. Chen Mo made up his mind and planned to put Qiongqi with Luo Tianshang temporarily. After finding Yuer, it's not too late to come back and settle her down. At this moment, Anhe Road Street, Tianquan City. There were guards all around, all armed with firearms. Luo Tianshang's #1 younger brother Zhang Dong is even more armed to the teeth. Wearing a body armor, with a Nepalese army knife on his waist and a rifle in his hand. He swaggered over with a cigar hanging from his mouth. Behind him, dozens of people followed closely behind. Seeing the visitor, the guards around him all flattered him. Brother Dong, how many supplies have been collected today? Brother Dong is fat again. Hey, are these new survivors again? You are lucky, you are in the right place. Zhang Dong took a puff of his cigar and grinned. Not much, I just went to Wadima, and also went to the police station to get some good stuff back. Wodima, the largest supermarket in Tianquan City. Zhang Dong, where is Boss Luo? Brother Dong, the boss is in the basement. Tisk tisk, there are some schoolgirls again, they are very happy. It makes me itchy. Zhang Dong smiled and said. You have to be the boss. It's all about being nourished. While speaking, Zhang Dong looked at the survivors behind him who looked haggard, tattered, and coward. Laughed. Don't be afraid, we lions are not those crazy people. The boss said that as long as there are survivors, we will treat them with delicious food and drinks. The person who becomes my lion will be a popular drinker all day long. You guys, send someone to take them to clean them, and take out my bottle of 1982 Sprite to entertain them. Just tell me what you want to eat. We only have things you can't think of, and there's nothing you can't do without. Ha ha. Zhang Dong laughed loudly and walked towards the underground passage. The few survivors behind him swallowed their saliva after hearing this. Someone said in disbelief. Really? Is there really food? They have all been hungry for a long time. At this time, a man with a playful smile and a rifle walked up and smiled. He stepped forward and patted their shoulders. Haha, don't worry, eat with confidence. Just don't overeat later. Look at us, all of us are strong and strong, do you think we are short of food? This is the result of our boss's wisdom. Anyone who is a lion respects Luo Tianshang extremely and is in awe. Because the day before the end of the world, Luo Tianshang spent a huge sum of 30 million and almost ransacked the entire Wadima supermarket. The resources stored are enough to fill several large warehouses. It was precisely with these resources that Luo Tianshang continued to expand his power and gather survivors. Relying on abundant food and a batch of arms stored by Luo Tianshang, the brave and fearless little brother has managed to get to this point. Normally zombies would simply crush them. Even the stronger ones would be beaten to death by so many people. Among the lions, not one is afraid of zombies. It can be said that he is the local emperor of Tianquan City with unlimited scenery. At this moment, Luo Tianshang was lying comfortably on a chair, smoking a cigarette. Next to him, two young and beautiful schoolgirls were massaging him. Around Luo Tianshang, there were firearms and cold weapons one after another. Creak. The door was pushed open. Boss. Zhang Dong came in alone. Luo Tianshang opened one eye and said calmly. Came back. Zhang Dong. Yeah, this trip has been fruitful. I came back with a load of supplies and found 6 survivors and brought them back. I also made a batch of unknown gadgets, which were placed in the warehouse like rocks in the minds of those who lost their minds. Luo Tianshang nodded and said. Good food, good drinks, good hospitality, whatever they want will satisfy them. Zhang Dong said a little puzzled. Brother Luo, I heard that other survivor teams allocate supplies based on ability. Will we? Are our lions short of supplies? Luo Tianxiang suddenly opened his eyes and stared at him with piercing eyes. There's no room for the supplies in the warehouse. You won't be able to finish them all in your next life. In these troubled times, I, the lion, must treat others with courtesy, so that they will willingly become ours, do you understand? Luo Tianxiang's eyes were burning with undisguised ambition, and he said with incomparable arrogance. I just want to let the survivors outside know that as long as they come to my lion, they will be entertained with delicious food and drinks. We no longer have to live the days of starvation, cold, and lack of clothing. In these troubled times, it will also be the time for my lion to show off his talents. Zhang Dong's face was shocked, and then he knelt down and said with great excitement. We are willing to follow the boss to the death. Luo Tianxiang nodded with satisfaction. As if he thought of something, Luo Tianxiang said. By the way, where is the senior you were asked to find before? Have you found it? It can be said that I will never forget that young man's miraculous skills in this life. Moreover, if he hadn't told himself, he had to stock up on supplies in advance. Give yourself enough time to recall your younger brother, maybe you would have died outside for food. That man is a god. The more he enjoyed his current life, the more Luo Tianxiang was in awe of Chen Mo. A man of God who can predict the end of the world in advance must not miss it. Zhang Dong said with a somewhat embarrassed expression. That hasn't been found yet. Could it be that person who has left Tianquan City? Luo Tianxiang's eyes flashed and he murmured. It's possible, you can ask among the survivors and see if anyone knows anything. I remember that when I was paying, I saw a name, something like Chen Mo. Payment. Zhang Dong was a little confused. Luo Tianxiang's face darkened and he cursed angrily. Go if I tell you to, get out. Boom. After Zhang Dong left, Luo Tianxiang lay comfortably on the chair and narrowed his eyes. Enjoying the massage from two young and beautiful women beside me. I feel a little sleepy lately for some reason. Luo Tianxiang murmured. On his right hand, there was a dark pattern of awakening. After a few days of rest, Chen Mo and Qiongqi cleaned up all the zombies around them. Qiqi is very obedient. Without Chen Mo's permission, he stayed alone in the room playing with dolls. Although these dolls are a little worn out, Chen Mo found them specially for her outside. At this time, several hiking backpacks specially purchased in the supermarket also came in handy. Chen Mo stuffed all the food and water stored at home into his backpack. Qiqi, who was holding Qiongqi on the side, blinked. He said in confusion, Brother, what are you doing? Chen Mo stopped, turned his head and said with a smile. Qiqi, we are going somewhere soon. Qiqi tilted her head. Where? Chen Mo, that's a very safe place. Qiqi, you can sleep well there. Chen Mo stood up slowly, looked at the big and small bags in front of him, clapped his hands and said. It's almost done. It's time to go. Uncle Zhangguo had just left, so in order to appease Qiqi's mood, Chen Mo spent most of the time with her these days. But I don't have much time, and there are more important things to do. It is impossible to stay here in Tianquan City forever. Qiongqi, Chen Mo shouted. Qiongqi climbed up from the ground, and its size became even larger. The golden hair was shiny and smooth, without any trace of blood. In this end of the world where supplies are extremely scarce, water resources are extremely precious. But because Qiqi likes to sleep with it, Chen Mo would simply wash off the blood on it almost every day. After tying all these large and small bags to Qiongqi's body, Chen Mo then looked at Qiqi on the bed and said gently. Qiqi, go to Qiongqi, we are about to set off. Although Qiqi didn't understand, she still climbed onto Qiongqi very sensibly. By the way, he also hugged his tattered little bear. You guys go over there first, I'll be down in a minute. Chen Mo looked at Qiongqi and said. Qiongqi nodded, because he had the power of heaven. The communication between one person and one animal becomes smoother and smoother. After Qiongqi went downstairs, Chen Mo looked at the food and supplies placed in this small rental house. There's more than half of it here. When I came to the calendar hanging at the door, it was full of circles. Chen Mo tore off the November calendar, his eyes flashed, and he murmured. Everything in the last days has changed. Wait for me. December 15, 2049. In the next few days, Chen Mo plans to send Qiqi safely to Luo Tianshang. Then set off directly to Huabei City. Won't be back. He did not close the door, nor did he destroy the food that could not be taken away from the place. The zombies in the old city were almost cleared away by himself and Qiongqi. Although there is no guarantee whether there will be zombies wandering here in the future. But this place, with its abundant food and water, would also be a good shelter. Perhaps, after he leaves, the next survivor will arrive. In this dehumanizing apocalypse, this place is also the last piece of pure land in Chen Mo's heart. Your own journey has begun. Goodbye, Chen Mo said softly. Then he took the sword and left the place without looking back, heading downstairs. Qiongqi and Qiqi are waiting outside. Qiqi's eyes flickered as she looked at the ruins, the blood-dark sky, and the messy and dilapidated ground. Revealing some maturity that is beyond this age. In the past few days, under Chen Mo's guidance, she also knew a little about the situation outside. But she believed that since Brother Chen said that her father was fine, then he must be fine. When she saw Chen Mo coming down, Qiqi said, "Elder brother." Chen Mo nodded and looked around. He took out a map of Tianquan City. Luo Tianshang's location is on Anhe Road, Tianquan City. It is more than 60 kilometers away from here. Because of Qiqi's existence, it was impossible for him and Qiongqi to run rampant without restraint. In order to be on the safe side, Chen Mo decided to choose a more remote and safer road and walk. With her own leg strength as a person with dual powers, Qiqi rode on Qiongqi's back. It takes about 4 or 5 days to reach Luotianshang. Chen Mo looked into the distance and said, "Let's go." Zombies are extremely rare in the old city. The two of them walked for about 2 or 3 kilometers without encountering any zombies. There are no survivors. Suddenly, Qiqi, who was eating candy on Qiongqi's back, seemed to notice something. Zhu Shengsheng said, "Elder brother." Chen Mo, who was at the front, turned around. Qiqi, what's wrong?" Qiqi looked to the left and pointed at that location with her little finger. "Brother, there seems to be something there." Chen Mo frowned and looked in the direction Qiqi pointed. It was a shop blocked by vehicles. It was dark inside and nothing could be seen clearly. Sudden roar. A roar came from it. Qiongqi immediately became vigilant. Bang, bang. The sounds of collisions came. Through the vehicles blocking the door of the store, Chen Mo saw 2 zombies among them. Half of the flesh and blood on their bodies fell off, and one of the missing eyeballs still had a sticky line of blood hanging on its face. Judging from the tattered clothes on their bodies, they looked like the owners of this shop. Chen Mo glanced at Qiqi in surprise. "Qiqi, don't look." Qiqi closed her eyes. Whoosh! A sound broke through the air. Dominate the use of abilities. Chen Mo directly controlled the abandoned vehicle and ran it towards the 2 zombies in the store. Boom! The small shop also collapsed, submerging the 2 zombies in it. Chen Mo's eyes flashed and he came to Qiqi's side. He spoke softly. "That's okay, Qiqi." Qiqi opened her eyes, her big eyes full of innocence. He blinked and looked at Chen Mo. Chen Mo touched her head and said softly, "Qiqi, tell brother, how did you discover the movement there just now?" Qiqi tilted her head, thought for a while and then said, I don't know either. It just suddenly felt like there was something there." Chen Mo pondered for a while. Then he grabbed Qiqi's 2 little hands. On Qiqi's right hand, a faint dark line of awakening suddenly appeared. "Really?" Chen Mo was shocked and gave Qiqi a complicated look. Having superpowers means having the ability to protect yourself in this apocalyptic world. But it's not without its downsides. After gaining power, becoming stronger means falling into greater threats in the future. Since Qiqi can sense the existence of zombies, it may be a spiritual power. Chen Mo touched Qiqi's head and said, "Good job, Qiqi. If you discover anything in the future, remember to tell your brother." Qiqi nodded obediently, smacked her mouth and ate the candy and said, "Brother, I'm a little sleepy. After all, he is still a child." Chen Mo smiled. "Then take a nap." "Yeah," Qiqi nodded. After Qiqi fell asleep, Chen Mo began to think about whether he should teach her something while he was still with Qiqi. Originally having the protection of Luo Tianshang, he went to North China to find Yuer and sent Qiqi to the safest war zone. Qiqi hardly has to face this apocalypse at all. But after becoming a superpower, it's different. Chen Mo couldn't help but have a headache. Bringing up children is really a mental and physical job. Keep going. In the following journey, all the zombie mutants encountered were eliminated by Chen Mo alone. The dominance ability has almost reached rank 2, and its range is now a full 12 meters long. The number of metal steel balls that can be perfectly controlled has reached 5. At this moment, it was already night, and the scarlet sky in the sky became even gloomier. It seemed like it was about to collapse. Chen Mo walked at the front alone, like a ghost in the night, looking at the group of zombies wandering aimlessly in front of me. Before they could react, they appeared at that location and the sword in their hands had already been swung down. Beside him, 5 steel balls shot out like bullets. Puff, puff, those powerful metal steel balls passed through the heads of zombies one after another. Then, with an arc of blood, he headed towards the other zombie. PFF'd, act vigorously and resolutely. Blood splattered everywhere. Plop, heads were chopped off neatly one after another. It didn't even make too many waves or noise. Chen Mo glanced at Qiongqi, who was sleeping soundly on Qiongqi in the distance. After awakening his superpower, his facial features were doubled. Even in this dark night, his eyes were bright and clear. Skillfully cut open the heads of these zombies. The crystal nucleus was taken out from it. Looking at the crystal core in his hand, it was a full circle larger than the crystal cores produced by the zombies in the old city. Chen Mo's eyes lit up. It is as expected. It seems that it won't take long for the zombies here to advance to rank 1. Roar! A roar suddenly came from deep in front. Chen Mo's expression changed. He picked up the knife and quickly moved towards the direction of the sound. That turned out to be a rank 1 zombie. This was also the first rank 1 zombie that Chen Mo encountered in the past few days. Maybe a few days ago, it could have caused a lot of trouble for myself. But for Chen Mo now, it is nothing more than a walking crystal nucleus. Hula, a simple bonfire was raised. Chen Mo took out some food from Qiongqi's bag. Eggs, bread, biscuits, candy, milk. Although it is simple, in this apocalyptic world where people can kill people for a piece of bread, it is still an extremely sumptuous and luxurious feast. Chen Mo gnawed on the bread and looked at Qiongqi, who was still eating candies across from him. He reached out and took the candy from her hand. Said, "Eat less candy. You are still growing, eat more eggs and milk." Qiongqi looked pitifully at Chen Mo, then looked at Qiongqi beside her. Qiongqi lay on the ground and whimpered feebly. The thing it carries on its back is not light, let alone a little girl on its back. Seeing this, Chen Mo shook his head helplessly and returned the candy. Said, "Okay, just eat this packet and drink the milk. Then sleep well." Looking at the candy in her hand, Qiongqi smiled happily. "Well, thank you, brother." The weak firelight lit up, and Chen Mo used his dominance ability to connect the surrounding abandoned vehicles together, forming layers of barriers. Chen Mo raised his head and glanced at the crimson sky. Compared with the end of this hell on earth, the sky is exceptionally beautiful, with stars twinkling one after another. Qiongqi drank milk and suddenly lowered her head and said, "Brother, will my father come back?" Chen Mo was stunned and didn't know how to reply for a moment. In the end of the world, even those extremely terrifying and powerful gods cannot bring the dead back to life. After a while, Chen Mo said quietly, "Meeting. But the premise is, Qiongqi, you have to live well." "Qiongqi, can my brother teach you something tomorrow?" Qiongqi felt dizzy and said groggily, "What?" Chen Mo's eyes flickered and he said slowly, "In this apocalyptic world, the rules of survival are ha. Ha. A steady breathing sound came. Chen Mo looked over and found that Qiongqi had fallen asleep leaning on Qiongqi at some point. He laughed and picked up Qiongqi gently. He forced Qiongqi to lie on his side and placed Qiongqi on the soft side of Qiongqi's belly. Chen Mo touched her hair and said softly, "Good night." After placing Qiongqi away, Chen Mo took out the crystal core harvested today from his arms. 1 rank 1 crystal core and 14 inferior crystal cores. This place is no longer within the scope of the old city. The closer the location is to the god of Qiongqi, the more powerful the zombies will be. And in this area, there is already the output of rank 1 crystal cores, which means the zombies encountered later will probably become stronger and stronger. Holding the rank 1 crystal core tightly in his hand, Chen Mo closed his eyes and slowly absorbed it. Early the next morning, Chen Mo opened his eyes. His break was brief. In the apocalypse, even rest is a shallow sleep, and you are always alert to your surroundings. Qiongqi also woke up, looking around with his huge eyes. Chen Mo looked at Qiqi beside him, stepped forward and patted her gently, calling out, "Qiqi, wake up." When he touched Qiqi, Chen Mo frowned. "Why is it so hot?" At this moment, Qiqi's face was flushed and her breathing was a little heavy. He kept saying, "Dad. Dad." Chen Mo touched Qiqi's hot forehead with his hand. His expression changed. "Got a fever." Look at the faintly shining dark lines of awakening on Qiqi's right hand. The dark lines of awakening that were faint yesterday turned out to be particularly clear today. Chen Mo's heart thumped. He quickly took out a bottle of water from his hiking bag, wet it on a paper towel and applied it flatly on Qiqi's forehead. Qiqi kept panting, her chest rising and falling as she lay on the ground. Oops. Generally speaking, people with superpowers have excellent physiques and will not get sick at all. Therefore, when Chen Mo prepared supplies, except for bandages and disinfectant, he did not prepare this kind of medicine at all. Chen Mo's eyes flashed and he picked up Qiqi with one hand. He looked around and raised his right hand. Boom! The abandoned cars that formed a shield around them suddenly flew backwards, freeing up a great dhow. Looking around, he saw a dilapidated mess. If he hadn't started from the old city, he would have known the location of this road. I don't even know where this is in Tianquan City. Qiongqi, let's go, Chen Mo said, outside the entrance of an abandoned large supermarket. 5 or 6 survivors escaped from it. One of the young men with a handsome face grabbed the supporting pillar on the side. The veins on his forehead popped out and he shouted angrily. The pillar actually collapsed. Rumble, it was like the snowflake that set off an avalanche. Immediately afterwards, the large supermarket behind him collapsed piece by piece, like a collapse. Smoke and dust filled the sky, the ground beneath my feet was shaking, and there was a loud noise. Roar, a fierce and penetrating roar sounded from deep inside the supermarket. The surrounding survivors were extremely ecstatic when they saw this scene. They looked at the food brought out and scattered on the ground. They rushed over one after another. Food, it's food. I've never had anything decent to eat. What's mine, it's all mine. Get away, don't fight with me. At this moment, a woman in police uniform among the survivors said angrily. Joe Haoran, are you crazy? If you do this, all the survivors inside will die. The woman is young and beautiful, with delicate and beautiful features. She holds a pistol in her right hand and is wearing a somewhat shabby police uniform. Her figure is extremely hot, with curvy curves. Her lower body is covered in a blue skirt that covers her plump buttocks, but is torn open to facilitate movement, exposing her tall and straight long legs. And Mingyu glared at the man in front of her and said, "Look at the good things you've done." Joe Haoran panted heavily and sweated profusely. "Uaa, if I don't do this, all of us will die." The two of them are detectives from the nearby public security department. When the apocalypse arrives, relying on the advantages of weapons on his body, he has been surviving nearby. Find those survivors and form a team together. Now because of the lack of food, I had to take the risk of entering this supermarket. Yes, Sister N, Brother Joe is doing this for our own good. If Brother Joe hadn't collapsed this place, we might have died in the mouths of those zombies too. Some people immediately started to swallow the food in big mouthfuls, and said without pain in their backs while standing. And Mingyu glared at him. What if you are the one who hasn't escaped yet? What would you think? Joe Haoran stepped forward and patted An Mingyu on the shoulder and said, "Okay, Uaa, things have happened, you can look on the bright side, at least this is food. It's enough to last the rest of us a long time. Moreover, there were 16 survivors here before. If everyone comes out, there won't be enough food to share." The apocalypse has been around for so long, even Joe Haoran, a police officer, has had some changes in his heart. Yes, yes, the survivors around him echoed. Bang, and Mingyu knocked his hand off directly. Said coldly, "Don't call me Uaa, you make me sick. Joe Haoran, you were not like this before. Obviously if we hold on for a while, people from the military region will come to save us. Keep this food for yourselves and eat it." And Mingyu looked at Joe Haoran with disappointment, and then left angrily. Joe Haoran was stunned for a moment, and then his face darkened in an instant, his eyes flickering, and he didn't know what he was thinking. At this time, a woman with a coquettish face and scantily clad clothes came over and spoke eloquently. Officer Joe, officer, and doesn't understand your painstaking efforts. You're doing this for everyone's benefit, aren't you? The woman used to be a masseuse who talked about people and ghosts. Yes, Brother Joe, I don't know what Officer N is thinking. Isn't it a good thing to have fewer people? Everyone has a share of this food. A young man with dyed blue hair said as he ate the bread. It feels so good. I haven't had such a good time eating in a long time. Rescue. They probably can't save themselves. By the time they come, everyone will have starved to death. He saw 5 or 6 survivors around him, all on his side. Joe Haoran couldn't help but feel a little better. Staring at An Mingyu's leaving figure, a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes, but it quickly disappeared. Put away all this food. Save some food. Let's go. Brother Joe, aren't we going to find Officer N? The blue-haired young man said. Joe Haoran waved his hand and said, ignore her. When she figures it out, she will come back naturally. As a colleague, Joe Haoran knew An Mingyu's temper well. She is furious now and will wait until she calms down a bit. On the other side, An Mingyu chose one person to leave their group. I don't know where I have arrived. Looking at everything unfamiliar around him, there were ruins all around. An Mingyu couldn't help but become alert and took out the pistol from her waist. Who's there? All around, there were sudden sounds of movement and the low roars of zombies. Sudden, a zombie jumped beside her. Bang, gunfire sounded. Her skills are very good, and she got perfect marks every time during training. Roar, the gunshot sounded, immediately attracting all the zombies around. A bunch of extremely ferocious zombies rushed towards him, there were probably dozens of them. An Mingyu calmly shot the zombie in front of him with one shot. Why so many? She ran forward and came to a ruins with a bunker. Quickly shoot at the zombies below. Bang, bang, bang. Even though she has no superpowers, she still seems to be at ease among the zombies. As zombies fell one after another, An Mingyu just wanted to breathe a sigh of relief. Another low growl came from behind. An Mingyu turned around suddenly, pointed his pistol at the zombie's forehead, and shot him. Boom. When the bullet hit the zombie's forehead, the zombie just had a meal, and then continued to charge. An Mingyu's pupils shrank. How can this be? I was obviously hit in the head. The zombie in front of him was stronger than the previous one. An Mingyu was just about to shoot again. Click. The pistol in his hand was empty of bullets. Buzz. An Mingyu's head was a little dazed, and her delicate body was as cold as ice. His whole body began to tremble uncontrollably. It's over. Roar. The zombie got closer and closer, and he stretched out his hand to catch it. He was about to touch the towering peaks of An Mingyu. The zombie suddenly stopped. For a long time, there was no movement in front of me. An Mingyu slowly opened her eyes. The zombie in front of him froze on the spot and fell straight towards him. Ah! She screamed. Get out of the way quickly. Plop! The zombie fell to the ground, on the back of his head. A piece of extremely sharp metal was inserted into it. This is, at this moment, never far away. Chen Mo was walking over holding the unconscious Qiongqi. Qiongqi followed beside him. An Mingyu looked at the person in front of her, her beautiful eyes narrowed. Did you save me? When she saw the extremely terrifying Qiongqi, her heart beat violently. Are you a human or a ghost? An Mingyu's lips trembled as she forced herself to say. Chen Mo took a look at An Mingyu, who had a hot and bumpy figure in front of him. Police. This is a rank 1 zombie. It's a pistol. You have to hit it several times before it dies. Chen Mo said lightly. Then hold the thin piece of metal in your hand. Cut along the back of the zombie's head. Skillfully use a thin slice to pick out the crystal nuclei. Then he turned around and looked at An Mingyu, who looked shocked and asked. Where is the nearest supermarket, pharmacy or hospital here? An Mingyu was stunned for a long time and still didn't recover. Subconsciously pointing in the direction he came from, he said. There is a large supermarket there. Chen Mo nodded. Thank you. Wait. As if she thought of something, An Mingyu quickly turned around and looked at Chen Mo, who was about to leave. Don't go there. Chen Mo paused. An Mingyu explained. I just came out of that supermarket. Where? There are at least hundreds of zombies. And there are. Wait, what are you doing? And Mingyu hurriedly caught up, panting. Her tall and firm peaks rose and fell together, her pretty face was rosy, and she looked very alluring. And Mingyu said calmly, "Didn't you hear what I said?" Chen Mo said calmly, "I heard it. It doesn't matter." And Mingyu frowned and wondered why this person was so indifferent. He clearly said that it was very dangerous there, so why would he go and die? Most of it collapsed. You can't get in at all. After saying this, and Mingyu glanced at the little girl held in Chen Mo's hand. Beautiful eyes twinkled. You asked me about the pharmacy before, was it because of this little girl? What's up with her? Chen Mo, I have a fever. I'm going to get antipyretic medicine. And Mingyu was stunned, and then said quickly, "Let me see, I've studied some nursing before and I can help you." Chen Mo looked at her deeply. It actually made Mingyu a little embarrassed. Urged, "Quick." Chen Mo nodded and put Qiqi down in his arms. And Mingyu stepped forward and squatted down, her plump peaks squeezed into a ball. She reached out her hand and gently touched Qiqi's forehead. I was shocked. Why is it so hot? It's serious. And Mingyu raised her head and looked at Chen Mo with a solemn expression. With or without water, if she continues to burn like this, her life may be in danger. When Chen Mo heard this, he immediately took out a large bottle of water from the hiking bag hanging on Qiongqi's body. And Mingyu looked at the large and small bags full of food, her beautiful eyes were shocked. But she didn't say much, and immediately took the water. He picked up Qiqi, made her sit up straight, and put it into Qiqi's mouth. And Mingyu said, "How did you bring such a young child to such a dangerous place? She is in very bad shape right now and the continued fever will dehydrate her." And Mingyu looked at the little girl in her arms with great concern. She looked around and tore off the hem of her blue dress in a circle. The skirt, which was not long, became shorter, exposing a large area of Sai Shui's big white legs. Even Mingyu was a little embarrassed. However, she still wet the cloth and tied it around Qiqi's forehead. Chen Mo was stunned for a moment, then said, "That. I have a bandage." And Mingyu's delicate body trembled. A blush appeared on her pretty face unconsciously and she said, "Didn't you tell me earlier?" And Mingyu stood up, hugged Qiqi and looked at Chen Modao. She has a severe fever now, and for such a young child, her physical condition is not strong to begin with. If you need fever-reducing medicine, fever-reducing patches will also do. And Mingyu frowned, her beautiful eyes flashing continuously. I'm thinking about whether there are any pharmaceutical factories nearby. Chen Mo stared at her in silence for a while. Why do you do this? To be honest, in this apocalyptic world, people like Mingyu are extremely rare. He's obviously just a stranger. But for some reason Chen Mo felt that there was something different about her. Chen Mo had also seen this feeling in Yuer. If he hadn't met Yuer when he met him, he might have died long ago, right? And Mingyu was stunned and said with a frown, "Isn't this what I should do? It's not safe here. I know a safe place. Come with me." Chen Mo shook his head. "No need. Qiongqi, keep an eye on them." After saying that, Chen Mo turned around and left. And Mingyu was stunned. "Where are you going?" Chen Mo, "Go to the large supermarket you mentioned." And Mingyu took a breath, widened her beautiful eyes, and said loudly, "Are you crazy? There is indeed a supermarket, but there are hundreds of zombies inside. Among them, there is a zombie that is extremely fast and cannot even be killed by bullets. Rank 1, or rank 2. Chen Mo held the sword in his hand. Without stopping, strips of metallic liquid suddenly floated next to him, and they were constantly changing. And Mingyu behind her saw this scene, her pretty face was extremely shocked. This is superpowers. Her heart was pounding. She had seen such incredible abilities in Zhou Heoran before. Zhou Heoran was in an inexplicable coma for 3 days a week ago before he woke up. After waking up, he was talking about strengthening. Then he became extremely powerful, and it was precisely because of this that he was able to destroy the pillars of the large supermarket just now. And Mingyu felt that the scenes in front of her were constantly refreshing her knowledge. She hugged Qiqi and hurriedly followed her. "Hey, wait for me. The supermarket was half destroyed and there are ruins everywhere. I'll show you the way." Outside a large supermarket in ruins. Chen Mo looked at the scene in front of him with twinkling eyes. And Mingyu beside her spoke. You know now, right? The only exit has been blocked, it's impossible to get in. But as soon as she finished speaking, an incredible scene happened in front of her. I saw that among the collapsed buildings in front of me, the steel pipes and metal supports turned into liquid one by one. They swarmed towards Chen Mo's location. Chen Mo moved forward, and the bricks and earth around him rumbled. Boom! A huge sound came. The ruins in front of me were actually pushed by these liquid metal liquids, creating a smooth great Dow. Rubbles kept rolling down, hitting the liquid metal, and suddenly turned into pieces. This shocking scene made An Mingyu cover her mouth in disbelief. Her beautiful eyes widened and she looked at Chen Mo in front of her. You did it all. Wait for me here, Chen Mo said. He moved forward, with silver liquid swirling around him. Countless metal debris melted wherever it passed, gathering into a ball and separating the broken wood and bricks. Finally, we came to a supermarket with only half of it remaining. The place was covered by countless collapsed buildings. Chen Mo's eyes hardened, and his dominance power was activated again. Dissolve all the metal substances contained in it. Losing the support of many balance points, the buildings in front of them collapsed to the ground with a rumbling. A small opening large enough to accommodate one person was revealed. Chen Mo walked up the gravel and turned to look at An Mingyu who was following. He ordered again. I said, stay here. An Mingyu felt cold all over and looked at Chen Mo's evil eyes. He nodded unconsciously. Chen Mo successfully entered the supermarket. The silver liquid around him also solidified and fell to the ground. How important it is. Rumble. Metal. Seeing the wavy metal solidifying in front of her eyes, An Mingyu felt overwhelmed. Who is he? At this moment, inside a large supermarket. It was extremely dark, and it could be said that you couldn't see even if you stretched out your hand. All around were the roars of zombies. When Chen Mo appeared after that, those voices got closer and closer from all directions. A shelf with food next to him shook violently. Sudden. Roar. A ferocious roar. Chen Mo held the sword in his backhand and raised it, directly cutting the zombie in front of him in half. Blood spurted out and flowed on the ground. This seemed to arouse the ferocity of the surrounding zombies even more. For a moment, roars resounded throughout the sky. PFF'd. Dominate the use of superpowers. At this moment, Chen Mo was like a ruthless killing machine. Constantly harvesting the lives of the zombies that are coming one after another. 5 steel balls controlled by the power of domination passed through the head of a zombie. The sword in his hand kept swinging and slashing. Chop, chop, sweep. Broken limbs and broken bones were everywhere, and the area was completely soaked with blood. This supermarket had half of its activity space destroyed. Therefore, the zombies gathered here are even denser. The amount of them came one after another, leaving Chen Mo no room to breathe and collect crystal nuclei. It was as if there was no end to the killing. After just a while, Chen Mo felt a little exhausted. There are so many. This is not just a few hundred heads as she said. Chen Mo gasped for air and raised the knife in his hand. Plop. Another zombie's head fell to the ground. No, you can't stay here too long. He is just a rank 2 superpower now, even though these are just the most ordinary zombies. But he can still rely on this huge number to kill himself. And at this moment, from the deepest part of the supermarket, a terrifying, sharp and ear-piercing roar suddenly came. Ying. Even An Mingyu outside heard this sound. An Mingyu couldn't stop trembling all over. It's like a tremor in the soul. Fear. Is this the sound of that monster? It's over. Anming's moon surface is as gray as ashes. Chapter 31. Even An Mingyu outside heard this sound. An Mingyu couldn't stop trembling all over. It's like a tremor in the soul. Fear. Is this the sound of that monster? It's over. An Mingyu looked at the small, dark hole. My instinct told me to run away. Her beautiful eyes kept flickering as she looked at the little girl in her arms with a face full of pain. He gritted his teeth and suppressed the fear in his heart. No, wait and see. But don't let anything happen, your daughter is still here. An Mingyu thought secretly. Inside the supermarket. When this terrifying sound, similar to a scream, sounded. With the zombies swarming around, Anomaly stopped in place. Immediately afterwards, the zombies here seemed to be dead one by one, standing still in place with their heads hanging down. This is. Chen Mo looked happy. The corpse king of this area. Unexpectedly, such a being would appear just at the beginning of the end of the world. In an area, very few special zombies will appear. Similar to a group of zombie rats, the most powerful zombie can call zombies weaker than itself into action. Chen Mo looked at the motionless zombies around him, frowned and murmured. But why are these zombies suddenly motionless? The Corpse King didn't notice my existence. Chen Mo pondered for a while. Although he felt strange, he didn't think much about it. The most urgent priority is to find antipyretic drugs. Chen Mo carefully shuttled around these zombies, all the way to the living area. Finally, I saw the classification of medicines on a cargo column in the distance. Found it. Chen Mo's eyes lit up. On the cargo shelf, there were stacks of fever-reducing patches. On the other side, the same type of antipyretic medicine was also placed there. Around them, there happened to be 30 or 40 zombies standing motionless. Chen Mo took a deep breath and slowly stepped forward softly. He came to the cargo column and put the fever-reducing patches and anti-fever medicine in his pocket. Not found, outside the supermarket, and Mingyu paced back and forth anxiously. It's been so long, are you okay? Isn't that guy already dead? Qiongqi beside him lay lazily on the ground. It has a connection with Chen Mo established by the power of heaven. Can clearly feel the owner's safety situation. If anything happens to Chen Mo, it will rush in immediately. And Mingyu frowned and looked at Qiqi, who was as hot as holding a stove in her arms. He sighed. Little guy, you have to hold on. Your father even went into such a dangerous place for you. She said. Qiqi gently placed her on the ground and fed her some water. At this time, the sound of rolling gravel came from the pile of ruins. And Mingyu's heart thumped and she immediately looked over. He picked up a stick from the ground and became wary. At this time, Chen Mo's figure slowly walked out of the hole in the ruins. At this moment, Chen Mo's body and cheeks were covered in blood, and he looked extremely breathtaking. And Mingyu's face lit up and she said in disbelief. Are you okay? Chen Mo shook his head and took out the fever-reducing patch and anti-fever medicine from his arms. Breathing heavily. This is for Qiqi. Was he really found? And Mingyu's beautiful eyes were full of shock. He kept looking at Chen Mo up and down, and then murmured for a long time. Are you human? She clearly remembers that the living area of this supermarket is at the innermost, which is to say the most dangerous location. Chen Mo said calmly. It's human. Even Chen Mo himself felt a little incredible. This woman is too much to say. There are more than a few hundred zombies in this supermarket. Just in the places he passed by, there were no less than 400 to 500 heads in total. If it weren't for the roar of the zombie king, all the zombies would stop moving. Although Qiongqi was able to respond in the end, it was absolutely impossible to obtain the fever-reducing medicine. And Mingyu took the fever-reducing patch and anti-fever medicine and said, don't worry, with these two things, you should be fine. She tore off a piece of fever-reducing patch, took off the cloth wrapped around Qiqi's head, and put it on. Afterwards, he took apart the antipyretic medicine, mixed it with water and poured it in gently. Chen Mo glanced at the ruins behind him. Use the dominate ability to fill this gap. He spoke. Thank you. And Mingyu was stunned and smiled. Thank me for what? It's all because of your own strength. An ordinary person like me doesn't have such great abilities. And Mingyu looked at Qiqi, whose expression softened in her arms, and stood up. Your daughter will have to rest for a few days, waiting for the medicine to take effect. I know a place that's safe. Come with me. How many days? Chen Mo frowned. She is not my daughter. Not a daughter. And Mingyu was a little confused. She is the daughter of one of my uncles. Where are the others? Quote. Sorry, Chen Mo. I don't have much time, so I can't stay long. And Mingyu stared at him for a long time without asking why. He sighed. At least, it will take a day. Wait until her fever goes down. Okay, Chen Mo said. And Mingyu, by the way, I don't know what your name is yet. My name is Mingyu. Chen Mo hugged Qiqi over and lowered his eyes. Chen Mo, and Mingyu recalled it in her mind. Logically speaking, such a capable person should not be unknown in Tianquan City. And Mingyu said, I'll take you there. I've been in that place for a long time. It's very quiet and very safe, enough for you to rest. After several people left, on the ruins, the hole that Chen Mo filled with metal was suddenly knocked out with a boom. In the entrance of the cave, there was a sticky sound like pop and pop. From it, a zombie with a ferocious face and long sticky hair walked out. The flesh on the left half of the zombie's face peeled off, revealing white bones. On its shoulders and spine, extremely sharp barbs grew out. He was turning his extremely scarlet eyes, gurgling, and looking at the direction in which the two people were leaving. Chen Mo, what you just used, was that a superpower? And Mingyu, who was walking aside, hesitated for a long time. Finally he couldn't help but ask. Chen Mo said calmly, that's right. And Mingyu's face became extremely surprised after hearing this. Somewhat incredible. It's really true. Can you give me another look? Chen Mo nodded and took out a steel ball from his pocket. A magical scene appeared. The steel ball gradually turned into a pool of silver liquid, hovering in Chen Mo's hand. In this end of the world, there are some people who can awaken supernatural powers. And I can control metal. Chen Mo said calmly, and Mingyu's beautiful eyes widened and she spoke. Can I do that too? Chen Mo glanced at her hands. Said, perhaps, an opportunity is needed to awaken the superpower. Many people will never be able to awaken their powers in this life. And Mingyu was a little disappointed, but she didn't care. No wonder you are so strong. Superpowers. And Mingyu said as if he thought of something. In our survivor's base, there is also a person with special abilities. It seems like it's called strengthening or something. Strengthen. Chen Mo's eyes flickered. This is a normal ability, relatively common. Most of them are to enhance facial features and strength. Of course, there are some powerful types among them. And Mingyu asked Chen Mo many questions. And Chen Mo didn't hide it. These will almost become common sense in the future. Rank 1, gods, alien species. And Mingyu kept murmuring. Meimu became more and more surprised. Looking at the mysterious Chen Mo in front of him, he thought to himself. Who are you? Why, you know so much. And Mingyu couldn't help but ask. Chen Mo glanced at her lightly. No words were spoken. The two of them came to an old unfinished building together. The bottom passage is blocked by a pile of discarded debris and wood. The surrounding area is extremely empty and the field of view is excellent. You can observe the surrounding movements at a glance. And Mingyu moved a wooden board in front of her directly. There was just a passage inside that was big enough for an adult to enter. And Mingyu said with a smile. This is it. We stayed in this place for more than 10 days. All the zombies around here have been cleared away. It's very safe. You and your daughter, niece, stay here, no one will disturb you. Chen Mo nodded and entered together with An Mingyu. But behind him, a dissatisfied growl suddenly came. The two paused for a moment, then looked back. I saw Qiongqi behind him. Because of his large size, he was stuck in the passage. Chen Mo couldn't help but laugh. It's time to lose weight, Qiongqi. Qiongqi shouted again in dissatisfaction. Then he squeezed out of the narrow passage and stood outside. And Mingyu thought for a while and said, wait a minute, I'll make this passage bigger. No need, Chen Mo said. Qiongqi, go up first. Qiongqi nodded humanely, then got down on his knees and jumped deep. An incredible burst of bounds. He jumped 4 to 5 meters high and arrived at the second unfinished building. And Mingyu was already a little numb. This man and beast have refreshed their worldview for the first time. When he arrived, the zombies he encountered were killed by Chen Mo's powerful ability before they could even get close. Chen Mo, let's go. And Mingyu nodded and said. On the 4th floor, the extremely empty 4th floor. Zhou Heioran and a group of survivors were eating the food they collected. Looking at the people devouring food, Zhou Heioran frowned and said. Save some food, Officer Zhou, everyone has been hungry for many days. It's not easy to have a chance to have a big meal, so why don't you come and eat together? Yes, Brother Zhou, suck. This instant noodles is so authentic. Zhou Heioran frowned even more when he heard this. Look at the empty bags on the ground. Each of these guys wanted to eat all the food at once, as if they were afraid that they would suffer a loss. This food is obviously enough to last for more than 10 days. But today is only the first day, and it has already been reduced by half. If UAA were here, this would definitely not happen. Enough. Zhou Heioran finally couldn't bear it anymore and shouted loudly. You only care about now, wait until all these foods are finished, and then go to the supermarket. Leave the rest to me for safekeeping. As soon as these words came out, the 5 or 6 survivors present fell silent. Some people couldn't help but whisper, "That's what I say, but Brother Joe, you are obviously the one who eats the most." Joe Haoran's breath was suffocated. To be honest, he didn't know why he was hungry every day. Especially after using that special ability. The favor of rice rises, and the hatred of rice rises. At this moment, Joe Haoran finally understood how difficult it was for Mingyu. At that time, there was person number 16 present. Joe Haoran took a deep breath, his eyelids twitched, and he suppressed the anger in his heart without speaking. His reason told him to abandon these people and live well by himself. But his identity made him extremely restrained. Several people present seemed to get angry when they saw Joe Haoran. Among them, the voluptuous masseuse was the most observant and immediately said with a smile, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Officer Joe's strength is obvious to all. If it weren't for Officer Joe, we would all have died there. Officer Joe is right. We need to save some of this food until rescue arrives." Everyone reacted and changed their postures to flatter him. "Hee, Brother Joe, what you said is that we don't want to eat." "Yeah, I'm full too, I'll save it for next time." "If you don't want to eat, don't eat." Burp. They all knew that only Joe Haoran had the ability to protect themselves. Joe Haoran's face looked better now. He nodded. "I'll put all this food here. Everyone can collect according to the number of times per day." After speaking, Joe Haoran took away the food without waiting for the survivors to say anything more. "Put it next to yourself." The clever man rolled his eyes and hurriedly stepped forward to please Joe Haoran. After all, the food is now in his hands, and no one with Brother Joe's strength dares to steal it. "If you please me now, you may get more food tomorrow." "Officer Joe, are you tired? I'll give you a massage." "My skills are very good," the enchanting masseur said with a smile. "Brother Joe, you are really powerful today. If it weren't for you, our group would have died long ago. Brother Joe, please take a good rest today, I will take care of you." Listening to the flattery in his ears, Joe Haoran couldn't help but look better. "You all know that I do this for everyone's sake. If we don't do this, we don't know how many people will die next time we search for food supplies." His mentality had unknowingly changed a little in this apocalypse. Yes, he has strength and food. Why should we restrict ourselves because of our identity? They are obviously here to please themselves. The more Joe Haoran thought about it, the more ridiculous he felt in the past. And Mingyu, who had a strong sense of justice before, had always suppressed him, but now after Mingyu left, Joe Haoran felt that this feeling was not bad. At this moment, there was suddenly a huge movement below. "Huh, what's going on?" Joe Haoran, who was enjoying the massage, opened his eyes. A young man with blue hair beside him immediately stood up and said, "Brother Joe, let me go and take a look. You rest here." He hurriedly ran towards the edge without walls. Look down. Whoosh. From below, a huge yellow figure jumped up. Bang. It landed firmly on the ground. The young blue-haired boy was so frightened that he collapsed on the ground with a plop. Screamed, "Oh my God! Brother Joe! Brother Joe!" Qiongqi jumped to the 4th floor of this unfinished building. Its huge pupils looked around. The surrounding survivors were also shocked. This, what kind of monster is this? Tiger, Officer Joe. Everyone looked at Joe Haoran for a moment. Joe Haoran's pupils shrank. Looking at the behemoth in front of him, he habitually placed his hand on the pistol at his waist. Loudly, "Be careful, come to my side." Today's Qiongqi is huge and strong, with 4 pairs of claws as strong and powerful as thick pillars. He has yellow hair all over his body, his tail is swaying, and in the center of his eyebrows, a purple dark line of awakening is emitting a faint light. It is as majestic as a tiger, full of ferocious eyes, and full of a strong sense of oppression like a mighty lion. Even Joe Haoran couldn't help but feel a little numb after seeing such a ferocious beast. "Brother Joe, what kind of monster is this?" A survivor behind him had his legs weak. "Officer Joe, you must protect us," Joe Haoran said angrily in a low voice. "Quiet, everyone." After a short confrontation with Qiongqi, he bit the bullet and carefully took out the pistol from his arms. As of now, no one cares where this beast comes from. Qiongqi lazily hit him, and then slowly lay on the ground. This action shocked everyone present. What is it doing? Someone whispered. I don't know, why aren't you moving? Keep your voice down, don't wake this guy up. When everyone's hearts were in their throats, a confused voice sounded. What are you doing here? When they heard this sound, everyone took a breath. He looked over sharply. At the bottom of the stairs, and Mingyu and Chen Mo were slowly walking up. Chen Mo was still holding Qiqi, who had a fever. And Mingyu looked at the people hiding together with wary faces. What is this doing? Everyone was overjoyed to see the visitor. Sister N, Officer N, are you back? There's a beast here. Beast. And Mingyu was stunned for a moment, and then looked at Qiongqi, who was lying on the ground opposite with his eyes narrowed. He laughed. It's okay, that's my friend's pet, don't be afraid. Pet. All the survivors present opened their eyes wide when they heard this, with disbelief written all over their faces. Chen Mo glanced at Qiongqi opposite him and said, Qiongqi, come here. When he heard Chen Mo's call, Qiongqi slowly stood up and walked over. With every step they took, everyone's hearts trembled, and their whole bodies couldn't stop shaking. I was afraid that this extremely huge beast would suddenly burst out and eat people. Seeing this, Zhou Heioren's eyes kept flashing. Looking at Chen Mo next to Mingyu, an inexplicable hostility arose in his heart. He frowned and said, Uaa, who is he? And Mingyu, it's also a survivor I met nearby. His name is Chen Mo. Chen Mo, let me introduce you. This is my colleague, Zhou Heioren. Chen Mo nodded. The eyes of the survivors who were present brightened up when they found out that Chen Mo was one of them. Rush forward. Wow, dude, that's awesome, that's actually your pet. Dude, what do you do? An animal tamer. Isn't this guy awesome? This guy is bigger than the Lion King I've seen on TV. The appearance of Chen Mo and Qiongqi instantly became the focus of the audience. Zhou Heioren's side suddenly became empty. His face became a little ugly, he snorted and found a place to sit down alone. Isn't it just a beast? He is a superpower. Chen Mo frowned, obviously not used to it. At this time, and Mingyu on the side said, Okay, everyone, get out of the way. Don't disturb this little girl's sleep. Chen Mo's niece has a fever and is here to rest for a day. I'll leave tomorrow. As soon as this statement came out, everyone present was even more shocked. Who wouldn't want to stay in this safe place forever? And the person brought by officer and in front of him only stayed for one day and then left. Brother, aren't you afraid of those zombies outside? Where do you plan to go? Ahem. And Mingyu coughed twice. Everyone present was obviously a little afraid of her and dispersed one after another. And Mingyu said apologetically, I'm sorry, but your pet is really special. Everyone is curious. Chen Mo said calmly, fine. And Mingyu nodded, looked at Qiqi in Chen Mo's arms, stepped forward and touched her forehead. His eyes lit up. It's getting better, you can take a good rest here. I'll go over there for a moment. Chen Mo nodded. And the other side. The arrival of Chen Mo's uninvited guest obviously made Zhou Heioren feel a little unhappy. The young man with blue hair on the side whispered. Brother Zhou, I'm on your side. It's just a beast. I believe it is no match for you, Brother Zhou. Zhou Heioren looked at him in surprise and felt a lot more comfortable. When the blue-haired young man saw this, he thought very much. These idiots have no idea who is the boss here. The food is all in Brother Zhou's hands, and you can't tell the form. Brother Zhou, Sister An is here. Zhou Heioren was startled, then looked up. I saw An Mingyu walking straight in the distance. She has a hot figure, and the blue skirt on her lower body tore off a large section, exposing her slender and round thighs. Zhou Heioren couldn't help but be fascinated for a moment, his eyes softened. Uaa, it was my fault before, I shouldn't have. Zhou Heioren, where is the food? And Mingyu asked as soon as he came up. Zhou Heioren was stunned for a moment, then smiled and took the bag full of food next to him and said. Are you hungry, Uaa? And Mingyu shook her head. No, I'm going to give some to Chen Mo and the little girl. Zhou Heioren's smile froze when he heard this. The blue-haired young man next to him widened his eyes and said. Sister N, it's hard for us to get these foods. You want to give it to a stranger whose origin is unknown and will leave tomorrow. The sound was quite loud, as soon as the surrounding survivors heard the word, food. Come here immediately. Zhou Heioran refused coldly. No. The few survivors who had been friendly to Chen Mo a moment ago also immediately changed their faces. Officer N, we don't even have enough food for ourselves. It's not good that you have to give it to an outsider, isn't it? Yeah, you don't know how many people we lost for this little food. And Mingyu frowned when she saw this, and looked at them with some displeasure. Zhou Heioran and I didn't know each other when we found you. I also shared my food with you, so are you considered outsiders? All the survivors present were speechless. Indeed, almost everyone present was rescued by Zhou Heioran and Mingyu. No matter who they are, and Mingyu treats everyone equally without bias. Zhou Heioran, I said no, it would be okay if he stays with us all the time. But you also said that that person will leave tomorrow. And Mingyu frowned and looked at the survivors who looked hostile and resistant. He sighed. Then give me my food, that's all. The faces of the survivors present looked better now. The food was distributed in turn, and the ones most qualified to enjoy the food in the room were Mingyu and Zhou Heioran. So everyone didn't have any objections. Zhou Heioran was silent for a while, and then took out a few buckets of instant noodles from the bag. Then he got a bottle of water and biscuits and handed them over. And Mingyu took the food, picked up a pack of biscuits and ate it, then turned around and came to Chen Mo. He put the food down and said softly, "Are you hungry? Eat." Seeing this scene, some of the survivors on the other side couldn't help but say, "Officer and is really kind-hearted. In this apocalyptic world, that guy has another beast. If he knew we had food, he wouldn't do anything extraordinary." "Officer Zhou, you can't stand it either, right?" A group of people surrounded Zhou Heioran and kept inciting him. Zhou Heioran didn't speak, his eyes looked uncertainly in the direction of Chen Mo. Chen Mo looked at the food in front of him. Naturally, he witnessed everything that happened over there. And Mingyu said, "You don't have to think too much, these are my own food." Chen Mo shook his head and said, "Thank you, no, I have it myself." With that said, Chen Mo opened Qiongqi's hiking bag. I took out a few ham sausages and water, and that was it. The most incredible thing was that he actually took out 2 bowls of self-heating rice from the mountaineering bag. Braised beef rice, braised pork rice with soy sauce. And Mingyu's little mouth opened wide, and her beautiful eyes widened. "In this bag, you still have self-heating rice." She is stupid. Not only her, but the survivors in the distance even stared blankly when they saw this. What the hell? That's self-heating rice. Rice. That's rice. I haven't eaten rice or meat for a long time. In comparison, their food is nothing. Someone stood on tiptoes and looked into the mountaineering bag. When I saw the dazzling array of food and supplies, I was so excited that I almost lost my breath. His bag is full of food. It's all food. What? Really fake? You know, Qiongqi is carrying 4 or 5 bags, large and small. Hiking bags are inherently large in capacity and space. Are these bags full of food? All the survivors present had greedy looks in their eyes. Watching Chen Mo across from him, he tore open the self-heating rice, poured some water in and heated it up. One by one, they began to swallow unconsciously. And Mingyu didn't know what to say for a moment. However, when I thought about Chen Mo's incomparable strength, he even dared to break into a large supermarket by himself and bring back antipyretic medicine and fever-reducing patches without incident. I'm afraid, for him, the food that he and others had worked so hard to obtain was simply within his reach. Gulu gulu. The 2 self-heating rice bowls in front of me kept making steamy mist. In fact, he didn't carry much of this stuff. Self-heating rice is bulky, heavy, and takes up more space than filling foods like compressed biscuits and bread. Except for the taste, it is really different. During the 15 years of the end of the world, he had been in the war zone for at least 4 or 5 years of supply fluids. For Chen Mo, it doesn't matter what he eats, as long as he can fill his stomach. But sometimes, life still needs some sense of ritual. For example, eating a hot and fragrant rice bowl in the apocalypse. After a few minutes, the sound of boiling water gradually subsided. Chen Mo picked up one and handed it over. "Here." And Mingyu was stunned for a moment, then murmured in disbelief. "For me." Chen Mo nodded. Thank you very much for today." And Mingyu suddenly felt flattered. Looking at the soy sauce braised pork rice in front of me. The biscuits in my hand suddenly lost their flavor. Gulu. My stomach rumbled unsatisfactorily, and Mingyu blushed and sat down. He coughed twice and lowered his head in embarrassment. Thank you, thank you. Chen Mo smiled. Open the lid of the box in your hand, and the fragrance will overflow. The brown sauce is used as a base, and there are a few pieces of beef on top, which is full of aroma for a while. Even Zhou Heioren couldn't help but take a look. Snort. The survivors around him were dumbfounded, and their eyes were sore and red. They had eaten a lot of food and were not very hungry. Drooling all over the floor. That beef rice, what does it taste like? Everyone, you look at me, I look at you. I seem a little hungry again. And Mingyu was a little excited and held the sauce-flavored braised pork rice in her hands. If you find a treasure, carefully reveal it bit by bit, for fear of knocking it to the ground. This is braised pork rice. Braised rice with pork and soy sauce. In the apocalypse, having a hot meal is what many people dream of. Look at the crystal clear, plump and clear-grained rice in the box. Sauce and braised pork on top. And Mingyu picked up the rice spoon with trembling hands. He took a bite and put it in his mouth. Boom. This familiar taste touches the soul. Happiness. Ah. AOWWW. And Mingyu started eating in big mouthfuls. A layer of mist appeared in her beautiful eyes. The surrounding survivors unconsciously started chewing along with Mingyu. It was as if they were eating, their eyes burning, like wolves and tigers. Chen Mo on the other side had already finished eating. Looking at Mingyu's pretty and excited face, her face looked a little strange. Without saying anything else, he came to Chi-Chi's side. I took some porridge from my hiking bag and fed it. After taking antipyretics and using antipyretic patches, Chi-Chi's condition improved significantly. It's like being in a deep sleep. Chen Mo looked at Chi-Chi's little hand. The dark pattern of awakening on it seemed to be almost complete. He touched her hair with some relief. Zhou Heioren seemed to be very resistant to Chen Mo, ever since Chen Mo arrived. There has been no communication between the two. Evening. Everything that happened today made many survivors feel extremely tired. Once people are full, they will think too much. And they, of course, did the same. Many of them covered their faces and cried, expressing their grief. Soon, everyone began to rest one after another. Chen Mo leaned on Qiongqi's belly, with weak candlelight lighting around him. His eyes flickered, not knowing what he was thinking. Chen Mo took out the crystal core he harvested today from his pocket. As the saying goes, wealth can be found in danger. When leaving the large supermarket, Chen Mo still bit the bullet and took out the crystal nuclei from the brains of the zombies he killed. 3 rank 1s and 46 inferior crystal cores. It can be said that this is the most fruitful harvest ever. One can imagine the danger involved. The quality of zombies in large supermarkets is very unusual. Logically speaking, the zombie king's roar is to gather zombies. But for some reason, those zombies suddenly stopped moving and did not choose to attack him. Chen Mo shook his head, murmured, the zombies in the large supermarket are at least rank 2. And, most likely reaching rank 3 soon. The improvement speed of these zombies and alien species is much faster than that of humans. Before rebirth, when the zombies in many areas had reached rank 4, only rank 2 superpowers appeared on the human side. Have the opportunity to resist. After absorbing these crystal nuclei, my dominance power should be able to reach rank 2. Chen Mo's eyes flickered, just when he was about to absorb it. A voice sounded, aren't you sleeping yet? And Mingyu didn't know when she would appear. She looked at Chen Mo and found a random place to sit down. Said softly, we have people taking turns guarding here every night. You can rest peacefully. Chen Mo nodded. And you? And Mingyu glanced at the people on the other side who were already sleeping. He lowered his head and murmured, since the end of the world began, I have had very little sleep. Here, there were 16 survivors here yesterday. And today, there are only 6 people left. Chen Mo looked calm and spoke. This is the end of the world. You try to learn to live with it. And Mingyu smiled bitterly and said, Chen Mo, you know, actually after I found out that we only have 6 survivors left. I don't know why, but I feel a little relaxed. I may not be as honest as I thought. Zhou Heioren and I have to take care of 16 people, and we are really tired. Chen Mo was silent for a while, looking at the bonfire in front of him, and said quietly. Don't think so much, just look straight at your heart. In the apocalypse, almost no one will remain unchanged. At least, and Mingyu is one of the few people he has ever seen who can still maintain his original intention. And Mingyu, what about you? What are you doing for? Chen Mo said no more. And Mingyu smiled, sat up from the ground, and stretched, perfectly showing off her perfect and alluring curves. Forget it. You'll be ready to go tomorrow morning. Get some rest. And Mingyu turned around. Chen Mo's voice suddenly sounded behind him. I want to find someone. She means a lot to me. That's it. And Mingyu paused, then said with a smile. Then I wish you success. After and Mingyu left, Chen Mo began to silently absorb the power of the crystal core. Late at night, silence and silence. The blue-haired young man guarding the area near the 4th floor dozed off. Ah, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have acted so arrogantly. I'm so sleepy. Xie Yu yawned. His eyes unconsciously glanced in Chen Mo's direction. Staying on the mountaineering bag Qiongqi is carrying. The image of today's self-heating meal appeared in my mind, and I swallowed unconsciously. There was a look of desire in his eyes. In that bag. There should be a lot of food, right? Xie Yu couldn't help but murmured. Greed flashed in his eyes, and he looked at the survivors who were already asleep around him. His body tiptoed forward uncontrollably. I'll just take some. Just a little. Xie Yu kept comforting himself. He came to Chen Mo's side and walked carefully past him. Chen Mo slowly opened his eyes. Under the night, his eyes were particularly calm and cold. Behind Qiongqi lying on his side, Xie Yu saw the hiking bag that Chen Mo took out during the day to heat his meals. He carefully reached out and opened the zipper. Cheer. After seeing the abundant and neatly stacked food in the mountaineering bag, Xie Yu burst out with amazing light. So much. At this moment, the sleeping beast in front of him suddenly turned around. Xie Yu was shocked when his eyes met Qiongqi's two big eyes that were like lanterns in the dark night. Cardiopulmonary arrest. Ah! The screams suddenly echoed through the dark night. In an instant, everyone present was awakened. What's wrong? What the hell happened? His pet wants to eat me in the middle of the night. Xie Yu hid beside Zhou Heioran. He testified tremblingly. The survivors who woke up at the scene were shocked when they heard this, and they all showed signs of fear. I've told you before, this guy's origins are unknown and he's dangerous. I think his pet just wants to secretly eat all of us in the middle of the night. Zhou Heioran also looked at Chen Mo opposite him with a hostile face. Yue, why are you still standing next to that person? Come here quickly. And Mingyu frowned and said coldly. What are you all talking about? It's impossible for Chen Mo to do such a thing. During the day, she witnessed Chen Mo's incredible strength with her own eyes. If he really wanted to take action against himself and others, he would have done so long ago. Even Zhou Heioran, who also has superpowers, can't resist at all. Why bother? Chen Mo, what is going on? And Mingyu turned around and asked. Qiongqi growled at the group of people opposite. This sound scared the whole group of them to death. Chen Mo said lightly, this guy wants to steal something. Xie Yu's expression changed and he immediately defended. You're talking nonsense. We have food ourselves, why should we steal yours? Chen Mo looked at him calmly and said slowly. I didn't say food. What are you in such a hurry for? Everyone looked over for a moment. And Mingyu frowned and asked. Xie Yu, honestly, what did you do? Do you want to steal the food in Chen Mo's bag? She was not a fool and naturally understood that there was no need for Chen Mo to lie. Then there is only one possibility. Xie Yu, this guy is lying. Xie Yu was shocked and quickly looked to Zhou Heioran for help. Zhou Heioran said, Yue, Xie Yu is one of our own. You don't even believe us, but you believe an outsider. And Mingyu laughed angrily. Zhou Heioran, have you ever thought about what if Chen Mo, this pet, wants to eat you? You, Zhou Heioran, are not afraid. How many others can resist? He is afraid of being discovered by us. He has a guilty conscience. Xie Yu said loudly. Zhou Heioran, Chen Mo, if you are a man, please stand up. What's the point of standing behind Yue? He had long been unhappy with this person. Just for this reason, he was expelled. At this time, Chen Mo, who had been silent until now, spoke. I don't need you to believe it. If Qiongqi really wants to eat you, do you think you still have a chance to stand here and talk to me now? Roar. A deafening roar sounded. Qiongqi moved and suddenly appeared in front of the survivors. He looked ferocious, and Zhou Heoran looked shocked. Strengthen. He used his superpower, and his body began to expand in an instant. Even if he punches it with all his strength. Chen Mo looked at the scene in front of him with interest. Oh, or a superpower. Qiongqi showed a disdainful expression and made no movement at all. Boom. This punch hit Qiongqi firmly. As if he had been hit by a steel plate, Zhou Heoran's face turned pale. I felt a tingling sensation and quickly retracted my hand. His right hand was shaking uncontrollably, and the survivors behind him were all shocked when they saw this. Monster. This is a monster. They had seen Zhou Heoran's strength with their own eyes. It is so powerful that it can smash walls and stones alive. Feeling that he had lost face, Zhou Heoran immediately pulled out the gun from his waist. Stop. At this time, an angry female voice sounded. And Mingyu stood in the center of the field, looking at Zhou Heoran coldly and said. Indiscriminate, Zhou Heoran, you should know what kind of person Xie Yu is. I didn't want to say it at first, but this isn't something that happens once or twice. Xie Yu, please tell me the truth. Xie Yu took a few steps back in fear, his heart pounding. After seeing Qiongqi's terrifying and intimidating gaze, not even Officer Zhou was a match for this beast. His legs softened and he knelt down with a pop sound. Yeah, sorry, I was wrong. Everyone present was shocked. Xie Yu couldn't stop trembling all over and kept begging for mercy. Spare me, I'm just too hungry and temporarily distracted. Wow, the truth comes out. Zhou Heoran frowned and looked over. Didn't you just eat something? And Mingyu's beautiful eyes also became colder. Xie Yu, why do you want to deceive everyone? Xie Yu didn't dare to look at Mingyu and kept pulling Zhou Heoran to plead. Brother Zhou, you have to save me. I really didn't mean it. I know, you also want to eat the self-heating rice, right? I just want to bring it to the big guys. PFF'd. Before he could finish his words, a steel ball unexpectedly pierced his forehead. Xie Yu was shocked, and a trace of bright red blood flowed from the hole. His vision was covered by blood, and Xie Yu's face showed disbelief. Then he fell to the ground with a bang, and blood flowed all over the ground. The steel ball returned to Chen Mo's side. He watched this scene coldly. The entire venue was quiet. Kill someone. Ah, Officer Zhou, kill someone. Help. The few survivors had never seen such a scene before. They couldn't help but became a mess and hid behind Zhou Heoran. Zhou Heoran's pupils shrank and he looked at Xie Yu, who was lying dead on the ground beside him. Then he suddenly looked at Chen Mo, who had an indifferent expression on the opposite side. Are you also a person with superpowers? Why kill him? And Mingyu also turned around with her delicate body cold, her face full of confusion. Chen Mo didn't explain, his eyes showed no emotion. It felt like accidentally stepping on an ant on the roadside. In the end of the world, if an ordinary person's food is stolen. Without food, you will either face ferocious zombies, or you will have to wait for death on the spot. It is tantamount to killing someone. The 15 years of experience in the last days have long made Chen Mo cold-blooded and ruthless, and he must avenge himself. Zhou Heoran said loudly as if he had grasped the handle. Yuaa, come to my side, be careful he hurts you. And Mingyu remained unmoved. Even though she had always been on Chen Mo's side, she didn't know what to say for a while. He turned around and said with disbelief. Chen Mo. Why are you doing this? He deserves to die. Just 3 simple words, but it made everyone present feel so moved that their bodies were filled with ice and cold, and they were extremely frightened. Wouldn't this person feel guilty? Chen Mo, you should know the importance of food. And Mingyu bit her lip tightly and said nothing. I know. But you shouldn't kill him. Tisk. As soon as he said this, Chen Mo's eyes suddenly became extremely distant and cold. In the last days, I will see many people. He originally thought that Mingyu was Yuer's type of person. But I was wrong. At least Yuer would never allow such a person to exist. And Mingyu, in the last days, the most useless thing is compassion. You'd better stay away from this kind of person. Your identity should not be a shackle that binds you. That's all. Different road non-phase plan. After saying that, it didn't matter whether Mingyu listened or not. Chen Mo turned around slowly, picked up Qiongqi on the ground, and said calmly, "Qiongqi, let's go." Seeing Chen Mo leaving so decisively, everyone present breathed a sigh of relief. And Mingyu's delicate body trembled. There was an inexplicable feeling of loss in my heart. He couldn't help shouting loudly, "Chen Mo, wait." Chen Mo ignored it. This is only the beginning of the end of the world, and many people are still framed by the rules and morals of the past. And Mingyu is no exception. And as time goes by, most of those left behind are people who are just for themselves at all costs. Because only these people can survive in this end of the world. Survival of the fittest. I still have a lot of things to do, and I don't have time to let Mingyu understand this. I saw Chen Mo's figure gradually going downstairs and disappearing into the night. Everyone who had looked timid before suddenly became hardened. Finally gone. His pet really scared me to death. Tell me, that pet won't really eat people, right? He actually killed Xie Yu. He was so heartbroken. However, no one present showed any sympathy. In these last days, they have seen too many deaths of people around them. And Xie Yu was not related to the people present. I don't know why, but at this moment, most people feel a little secretly happy in their hearts. Because Xie Yu's death means that the food here can last for a few more days. Zhou Heioran also breathed a sigh of relief. Looking to the side, and Mingyu said, "Uaa, enough." And Mingyu finally couldn't bear it anymore. He turned around and looked at the group of wallflowers and said, "What will you do if someone steals your food?" Chen Mo is right. In this apocalyptic world, food is a person's life. I originally wanted Chen Mo to join our team, so that everyone's safety would be better guaranteed. Remember that large supermarket from before? Chen Mo went in alone to find antipyretics and antipyretic patches, and he came out safely. With his strength, do you really think he will share your food here? And Mingyu looked at the group of people present angrily. The faces of several survivors present changed greatly when they heard this. Even Zhou Heioran couldn't help but widen his eyes, with disbelief written all over his face. "This is impossible," he said immediately. "The supermarket collapsed a long time ago, let's not talk about how he got in. It's impossible for him to deal with the zombies there alone." At this time, several survivors around him also said with shocked faces, "That supermarket is full of zombies." They saw it with their own eyes. "Sister N, is this true? Who is he from? Could he be from the military region?" If Chen Mo was from the military region, then everyone would have suffered a huge loss. And Mingyu looked at Zhou Heioran with a cold face. "Zhou Heioran, just because you can't do it doesn't mean that others can't do it. That's what I saw with my own eyes. You should keep this food for yourself." After saying that, and Mingyu left without looking back. "Uaa, where are you going?" Zhou Heioran was anxious. "Sister N, why do you want to leave?" Several survivors also tried to dissuade her. Without An Mingyu, Officer Zhou alone would not be able to protect so many people. And Mingyu said coldly, "Rather than sit here and wait for death, it's better to go out and find a way to contact the people in the military region. If any of you are willing, then come with me." Zhou Heioran's pupils shrank suddenly when he heard this. "Uaa, are you crazy? This is the safest place. There are zombies outside." And Mingyu didn't dare to run too far even after she awakened her powers, let alone An Mingyu, who was an ordinary person. And Mingyu paused for a while, and the survivors behind him looked at each other in confusion. No one took any action. She shook her head in disappointment and murmured, "Maybe Chen Mo is right. This identity has become a bondage for me." She took a deep breath and walked downstairs with beautiful eyes. Seeing An Mingyu leaving, Zhou Heioran gritted his teeth, lowered his head and said nothing. "Here, I can still survive safely. Once you get out, you will really be facing the end of the world." The other side. Night cannot hinder Chen Mo and Qiongqi's journey. Roar, Qiongqi bit off a zombie's head in one bite. Chewed and swallowed. Seeing this scene, Chen Mo couldn't help but murmured, "It's better to be like you. Compared with those cumbersome survivors, it is not only more powerful in combat. The most important thing is to make a living. Qiongqi is a heterogeneous species, and eating zombies and deformed mutants can enhance his strength." Qiongqi turned around and shouted in dissatisfaction, "Express that you still prefer to eat normal meat." Chen Mo looked around. Take out the map. Now we have arrived at Haihui Road. It's very close to Anhei Road where Luo Tianshang is. But again, this place has reached the city center. After arriving here, Chen Mo could still hear the faint sound of his heart beating in his ears. Plop, plop. It seems like there is some huge terror hidden under the ground. Chen Mo showed a serious hint of vigilance. Qiongqi, be careful when you get here. Although the five senses have been greatly strengthened after becoming a superpower. But in this dark evening, there are still dangers everywhere. Chen Mo's eyes flickered. The domination ability activates. The surrounding metallic materials seemed to become clearly visible in his mind. Strips of metallic liquid flowed from the ground. The surrounding billboards, iron windows, and vehicles slowly began to squirm. In front of him, a natural barrier was stacked up. When I came back, all the zombies on the road had been cleared away. Crack, the lighter sounded. Chen Mo casually removed a few wooden boards and set them on fire. A small bonfire slowly rose. The weak firelight danced and flickered, and there was a crackling sound in it. Chen Mo put Qiqi down. It doesn't matter to me, but for Qiqi's safety. He still chose to rest here temporarily. Wait until it gets brighter before setting off. Chen Mo looked at the fire and took out the crystal nuclei again. There is one rank 1 core left. He held it in his hand and began to absorb it. I do not know how long it has been. The range of the Dominator's power begins to extend outside the image. The surrounding metal objects began to tremble. 8 meters. 10 meters. After reaching the limit of 12 meters for rank 1 superpowers. Buzz. It hasn't stopped yet. 14 meters. 17 meters. When the range of the dominant power reaches 20 meters. All metallic substances within the range seem to be connected with themselves. Rank 2 superpower. A full 18 meters improvement. The effective range of the pistol is only 15 meters. Chen Mo opened his eyes, excitement revealed in his eyes. Quantitative changes lead to qualitative changes. Chen Mo looked at the abandoned vehicles and messy metal objects surrounded in front of him. A thought came to my mind. These metals turned into a pool of liquid in an instant, and these metals were continuously condensed by the master's supernatural power. Becoming more solid, Chen Mo used his domination power to gradually build a metal wall, and looked at Qiongqi who was standing aside. Qiongqi, try to see if you can break this. As a different species, Qiongqi's awakening of dark patterns appeared very early. Although it is only a rank 1 mutant now, it is not afraid at all when facing the rank 2 corpse rat king. He even gained the upper hand and easily tore apart the corpse rat king's tough fur. The power is very terrifying. Qiongqi stretched out his paw lazily. To it, ordinary metal is no different from paper in front of it. It scratched with its paw, then froze. The metal wall in front of me that was condensed with the power of domination did not even show claw marks. Qiongqi's huge pupils showed confusion. He looked at his paws, then stood up from the ground, raised his thick front paws, and grabbed hard. Ding! Sparks even appeared on the metal wall in front of him. Except for a scratch, it was not torn. And this is just a metal wall with a thickness of less than 3 millimeters. Chen Mo's eyes lit up when he saw this. What would happen if these metals strengthened by the master's superpower were attached to the sword? He took out the sword and tapped it lightly on the metal wall. Time. The metal wall turned into a puddle of silver liquid, gradually wrapping around and adhering to the sword, constantly integrating into it. The sword in his hand became a lot heavier in an instant, becoming more shiny and sharp, shining with silver light. Chen Mo slashed forward, and everything he saw was torn apart easily. And because of its heavy weight, the power of this blow is also equally fierce. Boom! A deep crack was cut into the ground. Chen Mo murmured as his heart palpitated more and more. I do miss the equipment in the war zone that can detect powers at the level of superpowers. The dominance ability should have reached rank 2, right? Now, he can only make a rough judgment based on the range and power of the superpower. You know, as the abilities improve, the difference in abilities may not be visible in the early stage. But when you reach rank 4, your abilities will undergo a qualitative leap and undergo earth-shaking changes. And the divine SSS level ability Dominator is even more powerful. Shi Yuan, a rank 9 superpower who once had the power to dominate, was almost immortal as long as he stood on the earth. When he was rank 7, he massacred a rank 8 god and shocked the world. It is said that when he uses his powers, the land for several miles around is used by him. Countless rock pillars rise up, and the scene is extremely majestic. What will the Lord of Gold be like? Chen Mo was not only looking forward to it. He looked at the remaining inferior crystal cores. After the dominant power reaches rank 2, the power of the inferior crystal core is completely insufficient to support the enhancement and advancement of the power. And his second ability, Heavenly Power, is even more special and extraordinary. Not even the rank 1 core can improve it. But Chen Mo still kept these inferior crystal cores safe. When people with superpowers frequently awaken, people from all major forces will know the role of the crystal core. In the apocalypse for a long time in the future, before the various war zones have been established and issued crystal coins. These crystal nuclei will become the most hard-to-pass currency instead of money. Moreover, now that zombies have basically produced crystal nuclei in their heads, it is possible that many larger survivor forces will discover the mystery. No matter how strong a person is, the number of crystal nuclei they can obtain is limited. If we could rely on this information gap to exchange a large number of crystal nuclei with those large survivor groups before crystal nuclei became common. Even in the end of the world, he will become a wealthy tycoon. Chen Mo's eyes flickered and he looked at Qiongqi, who was sleeping beside him. Murmured, I finally became a rank 2 superpower. Wait for me. After sending Qiongqi to Luo Tianshang safely, he could boldly head to North China. Early the next morning, Qiongqi in Chen Mo's arms frowned. He let out a ying-ning sound and slowly opened his eyes. Where is this? She raised her head and looked at Chen Mo, who had his eyes closed. Elder brother, Chen Mo didn't sleep deeply and woke up soon. When he saw Qiongqi waking up in his arms, his face lit up. He quickly stretched out his hand to lift Qiqi's bangs and touched her forehead. Much better, Qiongqi said with a little puzzlement on her face. Brother, what's wrong with you? Did I sleep for a long time? Chen Mo said softly. It's okay, how are you feeling, Qiongqi? Is there any discomfort in your body? Qiongqi looked thoughtful, touched her head and said. Well, my head seems to hurt a little. Brother, is Qiongqi going to have a brain? Chen Mo was startled and couldn't help laughing. As if thinking of something, Chen Mo took out the antipyretic medicine from his hiking bag. He took another bottle of water, unscrewed it and said, Qiongqi, be good and take this medicine. Medicine. Upon hearing the word, Qiongqi showed an expression of extreme reluctance. She spent a long time on psychological construction, and finally took the antipyretic medicine obediently after Chen Mo tricked her with candy. Gulu gulu. Chen Mo noticed the dark lines of awakening on Qiqi's right hand. Now it has become very complete. So, Qiongqi must have awakened her superpower. Chen Mo asked softly, Qiongqi, tell brother, did you hear anything when you woke up? Or, does it feel different? Logically speaking, the first awakening of the superpower can hear that sound. I don't know why, but the listener can actually understand the meaning, and it is like being enlightened. Suddenly received a lot of information about his own abilities. Qiongqi paused after hearing this, frowning and thinking. Brother, things here seem to suddenly become so clear. Sound. It seems there really is one. Qiqi's eyes lit up and she said. Chen Mo looked at her expectantly after hearing this. What? This feeling is like a parent listening to the test results of his or her child. Qiongqi has been able to detect the existence of hidden zombies before. This type of power may be spiritual, or it may be an enhancement of ordinary power that only strengthens the 5 senses. Qiongqi bit her finger and frowned. It seems like someone said something to me while I was sleeping. Inspiration. F-level superpower, existence of inspiration. This is a normal power, but its effect is too small and has almost no significant effect, so it is classified as F-level. Chen Mo was a little disappointed, but he didn't think much about it. After all, there are only a few people who can awaken superpowers. There are even fewer people with supernatural powers reaching a level or S above a level. B-level abilities are considered very good. Just when Chen Mo was also glad that Qiongqi, who was not very powerful, could live peacefully in this apocalyptic world. Qiongqi in her arms suddenly shook her head, with a look of embarrassment on her face. He spoke. No, it seems to be some kind of vision. Speaking of this, Qiongqi looked at Chen Mo pitifully. Brother, I can't remember. Chen Mo paused slightly. This time, even he frowned. In his memory, there seemed to be no power called vision. Chen Mo pondered for a while and then looked at Qiongqi. Qiongqi, try to feel the dark pattern of awakening on your right hand. He wanted Qiongqi to use the power he had awakened, so that he might be able to learn something. Qiongqi nodded blankly, and raised her right hand curiously. Then she closed her eyes tightly, her expression very cute. Sudden, countless pictures flashed through her mind. Ah! Qiongqi in her arms let out a painful scream. It was an extremely horrific picture. In the dark red sky, crows circled in the sky, and a huge creature made a long cry. Blood, gunshots, screams. As well as countless corpses. At this moment, Qiongqi looked extremely painful. There were beads of sweat on his forehead, and he kept mumbling something. It's like something bad happened. No. Don't. Do not come. Ah, Qiongqi. Chen Mo was startled by Qiongqi's appearance. Seeing that the dark lines of awakening on Qiongqi's right hand were constantly flashing with the incomparable light of anomaly. He kept calling, Qiongqi, are you okay? Qiongqi in her arms suddenly opened her eyes, as if she had been frightened. When he saw Chen Mo's face, he jumped directly into Chen Mo's arms and held him tightly with both hands. He said with big eyes and tears, elder brother. It's so scary, Qiongqi is so scared. Upon seeing this, Chen Mo quickly touched her head gently and comforted her. Okay, Qiongqi, it's okay. What happened, Qiongqi? Can you tell my brother? Logically speaking, this situation should not occur when using superpowers. What exactly is this vision power? After a while, Qiongqi in her arms calmed down a little. The little face said with some shock, brother, I want to eat sweets. Chen Mo was stunned. Then he laughed and patted her head. He didn't refuse, and casually took out a pack of gummies from his pocket, opened it and handed it to her. Bah. The sweet and greasy taste made her little face look better. Qiongqi thought for a while and said, elder brother. I just saw a lot of scenes. Too horrible. Picture. Chen Mo frowned. Could it be related to Qiongqi's awakened superpower? Can you tell me what you saw? Qiongqi nodded and recalled. I saw a big mountain, and then, there were many people. Those people all have guns and are shooting at the mountain. That mountain still has hands. A lot of people died with just one slap. Qiongqi can only watch and can't do anything. Speaking of this, Qiongqi's eyes showed a look of fear and she hugged Chen Mo tightly. Chen Mo pondered for a while after hearing the words. Mountain. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and his pupils shrank suddenly. He spoke. Qiongqi, do you see that mountain clearly? Can you describe it to my brother? Qiongqi, brother, it doesn't seem like it's a mountain. It seems to be a big baby again, white and fat, and it also barks. Every time it barks, many people die. Does it only have one leg? Chen Mo asked immediately. Qiongqi's eyes widened, she looked up at Chen Mo and said. Yes, it seems so, brother. Chen Mo's expression gradually became serious. Because he knew what Qiongqi saw. God of Tianquan City. Qiongqi God. In his previous life, he did not stay in Luo Tianshang's organization in Tianquan City for too long. When he went to other areas to seek asylum in the military region, it is said that the god of Qiongqi appeared in Tianquan City. According to the records in the file, Qiongqi God's strength at that time was about rank 6. He looked like a baby and was as tall as a small mountain. And it only has one leg. Because of its huge size and the inability to move one leg at all, Qiongqi God moves very slowly and spends most of his time lying in one place without moving. At that time, lions had become the climate, and there were many people with superpowers. In order to become the real emperor of Tianquan City, Luo Tianshang sent more than 2,000 people and more than 20 people with special abilities to crusade. The result is completely annihilated. It wasn't until the other overlord of Tianquan City, Qiongqi, appeared that they were able to solve it. But he was reborn, so why could Qiongqi see it? Vision. Chen Mo kept murmuring. He suddenly thought of a person, a superpower from the 9th war zone. He has a very high status. It is said that this person has unknown abilities and is even an ordinary person, but he can always predict the enemy's opportunities and help the 9th war zone overcome several difficulties. People in the circle of supernatural beings call them prophet. The most astonishing prediction was the prediction of a zombie tide of a rank 7 alien overlord 10 days ago. Chen Mo looked at Qiongqi in his arms, and the more he thought about it, the more it seemed possible. Logically speaking, Qiongqi shouldn't be able to detect the zombie that Qiongqi pointed out before. Qiongqi's superpower may not be the F-level summoning of existence, but the same ability as the prophet. Chen Mo took a deep breath and looked at Qiongqi with a serious face. Qiongqi, don't tell anyone about your ability, okay? If anyone asks, just tell them that your power is existential invocation. Qiongqi's face was a little confused, but she nodded obediently. Zhao Han said, brother, Qiongqi understands. Qiongqi promises you. Chen Mo smiled, rubbed her little head and said, Qiongqi is so good, I'll reward you with another one. Ah, can I have one pack? Qiongqi said tentatively. The sky gradually became brighter. Chen Mo took Qiongqi and set off again. Qiongqi sat on Qiongqi's back, perhaps because she had slept for too long due to a fever that awakened her powers. Now she was in unusual spirits, looking around with great curiosity. Chen Mo was walking aside, his eyes flickering as if he was thinking about something. If Qiongqi's power can really predict the future, it would definitely not be a good thing if the top brass of the military region or the large survivor forces knew about it. The prophet of the 9th military region disappeared quietly one day. No one knows where it went. Chen Mo didn't think any more. Taking out the map, the appearance of this place has changed greatly after the end of the world. But fortunately, I can vaguely tell where I am from the familiar signs everywhere. Chen Mo murmured, it's almost there. There are still 10 kilometers to go to where Luo Tianshang is. After walking forward for a while, Chen Mo avoided the location of the god of Qiongqi in the city center. Here, many traces of survivors were suddenly discovered. There were more zombie corpses and traces of firearms and bullets all around. Chen Mo stopped and looked at the blood on the ground, which was obviously from a short time ago. The brains of these zombies were all opened and the crystal cores were taken away. This knife. Chen Mo noticed a shiny and sharp dagger on the ground. Nepal army knife. This thing. It's Luo Tianshang's person who has been here before. And at this moment, huge gunshots suddenly came from directly in front. Bang, bang, bang. Chen Mo's eyes lit up and he said, let's go. At the same time, a street full of zombies. 2222. A violent gunshot sounded. A tough, muscular man wearing a black jacket held a rifle and kept shooting at the zombies around him indiscriminately. Lu Meng's face was fierce. He looked at the zombies rushing towards him and said angrily, Brother Zhang always asks me to lead this group of newcomers. Sooner or later, they will be played to death by you little turtle brats. Lu Meng was almost pissed to death by this group of new survivors who had joined the Lions. They were all a group of students, and they were extremely excited when they arrived, bragging about how awesome they were. But when it comes to encountering zombies, even though these students are fully armed, they are still scared to death. Don't even dare to fire the gun. The same old members of the Lion beside him said with ugly expressions. Brother Meng, I can't do it anymore. There are too many of these ghosts. I can't hold on any longer. Newcomers, don't just stand there. Do it. Those students were all standing in a corner, already frightened. He completely forgot how arrogant he looked when he came here before. No. We don't dare. No more bullets. Drawing a horse. Lu Meng suddenly looked at the cowering students on the other side, and even the hand holding the gun was trembling. He cursed angrily. When the bullets are empty, use a knife. Didn't I give you the knife? Are you still a man? Go stab these zombies. If a man dies and a bird flies up to the sky, his grandma is afraid of a hammer. If you don't do it, I will kill you first. Use a knife. This angry shout immediately made several of them sober up. One of the handsome-looking young men immediately threw away his gun after hearing this. He quickly touched his waist. Yes, knife, use a knife. But when his right hand touched his empty waist, the whole person was shocked. Screamed, where's my knife? After hearing this sentence, several old male Lion members present had dark eyes. He almost fell to the ground without losing his balance. Roar! 4 or 5 ferocious zombies rushed towards these students. Ah, do not kill me. Mom, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to become a zombie. Lu Shang was so angry that he immediately found an opportunity to get away from the zombies, and shot forward with a gun. 2. But the zombies surrounding there were too dense, and these rookies couldn't clear away any zombies at all. There is no way to rescue him. And just then, from a distance, beams of silver light roared through the sky. Those turned out to be steel balls with huge power, no less powerful than sniper rifle bullets. PFF'd. In an instant, he sank into the heads of the zombies in front of him, smashing their skulls into pieces. Come out of it. Turn into silver arcs. The speed is so fast that it is difficult to catch with the naked eye. The more than 30 ferocious and violent zombies surrounding everyone actually stopped in place, falling down one after another. Bang, bang. Several students were frightened. They thought they were certain to die, but when they saw the zombies in front of them, they fell to the ground. Everyone was stunned. Lu Meng and others were also stunned on the spot. Seeing the horrifying scene in front of him, Lu Meng's pupils shrank. These zombies, all dead, are they all made of steel balls? Shock and disbelief were written all over his face, and he stared at the steel balls floating in the air with wide eyes. I even started to wonder if I had drunk too much and was dreaming. Roar. At this time, a rank 1 zombie that was still alive after being hit by several bullets suddenly exploded from the ground. Even the intestines fell out all over the floor, wrapped around a piece of waste wood and pulled out. He pounced directly towards Lu Meng, who was in shock. Lu Meng reacted immediately and was about to raise his gun. A tiger like Qiongqi from the distance rushed towards him quickly and trampled him to the ground with a slap. Then he lowered his head and started to devour the rank 1 zombie. Click, click. As soon as this terrifying and ferocious beast appeared, Lu Meng's breath was suffocated. A group of people quickly gathered together and looked at Qiongqi with great vigilance. Rao, a veteran member of the Lions who had seen many big scenes, couldn't help but tremble all over at this moment. I thought it was safe, but unexpectedly, another one appeared that looked bigger and more terrifying. Brother Meng, what should we do now? One of them said with a look of horror on his face and his teeth were chattering. Lu Meng, I still want to ask you. How about, let's run away? Someone said. Don't be nervous, this is my pet. Not far away, Chen Mo walked over holding Chi-Chi with a curious look on her face. The steel balls suspended in the air also floated next to Chen Mo again. Anyone else? Lu Meng felt wary and pointed his gun at Chen Mo. Do not come. Are you a superpower? Did you do all this? Oh, Chen Mo glanced at him with interest and casually glanced at the people present. I didn't expect them to know about superpowers. Chen Mo nodded and said. Who are you? Are you also a survivor in this area? Lu Meng said with great fear. He is well aware of the horror of superpowers. Among Lu Ogye's men, several superpowers have appeared recently, and each one is very powerful. Ordinary zombies are no match for him. But he is definitely not as powerful as the strange young man in front of him. In just one breath, all the zombies in this place will be eliminated. This is simply incredible. If the other party wants to deal with me and others, I can't imagine the consequences. Lu Meng said in a deep voice. Don't come here. Keep your distance. Several old team members around also raised their rifles. Chen Mo's face was extremely calm, and he walked forward slowly and unhurriedly, not paying any attention to Lu Meng's warning. He said calmly, if I wanted to kill you, you would have died like those zombies. As he spoke, he raised his right finger slightly. Several steel balls on his side rushed towards the 4 people in front of him in an instant. The speed was so fast that it was not even clear when to take action. The steel ball stopped firmly in front of me. The huge impact it carried made several people present feel the stinging sensation on their cheeks. Gulu. A trace of cold sweat ran down Lu Meng's forehead. He swallowed unconsciously. His eyes widened and he stared at the steel ball floating in front of him. What is the strength? Buzz. These steel balls returned to Chen Mo's side one by one. Chen Mo, did you see it? If I want to kill you, I don't have to spend so much effort at all. Lu Meng's eyes kept flashing and he shouted, put down your guns. Several old Lions players nearby put down their guns after hearing this. Lu Meng forced out a smile and asked softly, what do you want to do? Chen Mo looked at their armed firearms and clothes. Before his rebirth, he was like this when he was a lion. Chen Mo, you must be from the lion, right? Lu Meng felt a thump in his heart and nodded slowly. Yes. After getting confirmation, Chen Mo's eyes suddenly brightened. Finally found Luo Tianxiang's person. Chen Mo was a little worried before, because of his own influence in this life. Will Luo Tianxiang move his position and develop in other areas? Since they are all Luo Tianxiang's people, it will be easy to handle. As the leader of your lions named Luo Tianxiang. As soon as these words came out, Lu Meng and others became even more vigilant. You know, Tian'ai City now has more than just a large group of survivors, the lions. Do you know our boss? Chen Mo nodded. Take me to him. I have something to ask Luo Tianxiang. Lu Meng frowned and pondered. What do you want from our boss? Chen Mo, you don't need to know. Lu Meng's breath was suffocated. But when he thought of Chen Mo's terrifying strength, he still nodded. If you don't agree, I'm afraid you and others will be in danger. Come with us, I'll take you to see our boss. You wait first. Chen Mo hugged Qiqi and said calmly, yes. Lu Meng turned around, and at this time, several old Lions players gathered around him. Discussed quietly, Brother Meng, do you really want to take this guy with unknown origins to find the boss? He is so strong, I'm afraid. Lu Meng glared at them. What else can we do? Do you want to get all headshot like those zombies? They didn't even dare to shoot at all. The previous scene was too fast. The zombies fell one after another at a speed that was hardly human-like. All the team members looked at the corpses of zombies on the ground. The piles of corpses even blocked the road. All of them couldn't help but feel a little numb. Lu Meng took a deep breath and said, I don't think he has any hostility, otherwise he wouldn't help us. Let's take a step and see. Go and get the rocks out of these zombies' heads. After saying that, Lu Meng came to a group of students who were slumped on the ground. He was angry and refused to fight. What a bunch of trash. Soft-footed shrimp. Aren't they quite capable when they come one by one? Look at the way you guys are dying. Not even a single zombie has been killed. Are you shooting randomly for fear that your own people won't die quickly enough? Lu Meng swore that he would ask Brother Zhongdong for help after returning this time. If you never bring new people with you, you will get yourself killed sooner or later. Stand up for me, Lu Meng shouted. Only then did these students get up from the ground tremblingly, almost peeing from the shock of the scene just now. Among them, the strange one who had lost his saber pointed at Chen Mo not far away with a horrifying expression. He said timidly, Brother Lu, that guy. Is he one of our own? Lu Meng got really angry when he saw him. Immediately stepped forward and kicked. Draw it up, where is your knife? It seems to have been lost, the student said with some fear. Sudden, a beam of silver light flew over. A brand new Nepalese military knife suddenly floated in front of the student. Is this it? Chen Mo from a distance said calmly. I picked it up on the way here. The knife is floating in the air. The student's face turned extremely pale when he saw this. His eyes became cross-eyed and he stared at the Nepali army knife floating in front of him. Then his eyes went dark and he fainted. Unbelievable. Lu Meng took a deep breath. He was so angry that he had nothing to say and put away the saber floating in the air. He turned around and looked at Chen Modao not far away. Brother, thank you. Chen Mo nodded. He looked at the group of lions in front of him who were plundering the battlefield. Seeing their expressions of disgust, he split the zombie's brains open with a knife and took out the crystal cores. She covered Qiqi's eyes with her hands. Brother, I want to see. Qiqi opened it with her little hands. The little face looked at this bloody scene without any fear. She had even seen more terrifying images than this in her mind before. Chen Mo was slightly startled, as if he didn't expect Qiqi to be so calm. Didn't say much. It's better to get used to it sooner. Putting these inferior crystal cores away, Lu Meng used a knife to take out the crystal core of the only rank 1 zombie. He walked over and said in a deep voice, Brother, I don't know what you want from our boss. But with one unified harmony code, you saved our lives after all. You are a person with superpowers. These stones should be useful to you, right? Keep them all. Chen Mo looked at the handful of crystal cores in Lu Meng's hand and was a little surprised by his behavior. Putting it away, he spoke. Don't worry, I have no ill intentions towards the lion. Lu Meng's face looked a little heavy and he nodded. Hope so. He turned around, looked at the crowd, and shouted. Refill all the magazines. I'll have to kill that trash if he throws his equipment back again. Let's go, comma. Along the way, the two gradually became familiar with each other. Chen Mo learned from Lu Meng the purpose of their coming here. Find someone. Look for some survivors along the way. For the current male lion, more than 30 million yuan in supplies is more than enough to feed hundreds of people. It can't be consumed at all. Luo Tianshang's ambition is also huge. He wants to find all the survivors in Tian'ai City and let them join the lions. When he mentioned Luo Tianshang, Lu Meng said loudly with great admiration and enthusiastic eyes. Brother, I'm not bragging to you, our boss is a tyrant. Do you know what's the most awesome thing about our boss? The day before the end of the world, the boss asked us to take 30 million. Go and clear out all the food and supplies from the large shopping malls in the city center. Tisk, tisk, that scene is still fresh in my memory. More than 20 big trucks came and moved it back and forth dozens of times. Speaking of this, Lu Meng was extremely excited and obviously admired Luo Tianshang's feat. He glanced at Chen Mo beside him, seeing that his face was calm, without any fluctuation at all. He couldn't help but be slightly startled. What a ghost. Those newcomers, after knowing this, all of them had shocked and incredible expressions on their faces. Why didn't this guy react at all? But Chen Mo noticed the key. 30 million. He originally thought that Luo Tianshang would take it as seriously as Uncle Zhengguo did. But he didn't expect the other party to be so arrogant. It seemed that Luo Tianshang was indeed a ruthless person who could achieve great things with determination. It is indeed unusual to be able to develop a lion on your own before being reborn. It's a pity that his vitality was severely damaged in the battle against Qiongqi God and there was no sound from behind. Lu Meng saw that Chen Mo seemed not interested in this topic. So he changed the topic and said, this is almost our lion's territory. Boss Luo plans to make this area within a few miles belong to our lion. Nearly all the zombies around here have been cleared away. Brother, you are so strong and yet you are alone with a child. Roar. At this point, Qiongqi growled dissatisfiedly. But it shocked everyone. Lu Meng's expression changed, and then he laughed awkwardly. And this one. Brother, have you considered joining my lion? If you agree, I can guarantee that Boss Luo will definitely put you in a special position if he finds out. Strong people are always admirable. Compared with Chen Mo, they are both survivors. One person can kill more than 30 zombies in an instant. And what about the newcomers behind him? It would be nice not to be stunned. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.